Oh, great. Damn it. The intro music did not work. I screwed that up again. So, welcome to our last one of the year.
Officially.
Guerrilla Radio. I'm Joe Caprino. We got Mike here. We're doing a special episode because we're both off work and we have lots to talk about because there's a lot of wrestling action going on this week. And we have Team State brackets coming out Sunday. So we want to get all the good stuff out, and then we can talk on Monday about the Team State and what we're looking forward to there.
So, is that going to be on the Dane and Rex show?
Yes, that will be on the Dane and Rex show. I believe that's starting at 7. Dane's still working out on details of how long it will be. He's like, I know an hour is not going to be long enough, so he's looking at about 90 minutes. We're going to stream it on our Facebook and YouTube. I'm actually not going to go down there. I'm just going to stream it like we did the draw in. So that way I can put the graphics up and I don't have to go to the Double Eagle. I've been banished from Decatur after the seating meeting on Tuesday.
Man, was it getting wild like that?
No.
I got like a weird Belmont text. Like, I love Belmont. I hope I'm still welcome at the Double Eagle.
Hopefully we didn't both get banned. Yeah,
I'm still trying to get this prime rib special, man.
Yeah. No, it was the seating meeting was fun. Very eventful. We ended up running it and getting us out of there in about an hour. And I got so many complaints that people got home at decent times that it was pretty good. But yeah, that was fun. Seating meetings are always fun when you bring in 30 coaches and they all believe that their wrestlers are the best in the world, even if they're 3-17. 17 losses, he's getting better.
Yeah. Well, you see my post today. I thought that was pretty good.
Yes.
The message board's getting spicy today.
Yes, it is. There's lots of threats going on and everything. When you make random commercial jokes about Holiday Inn Express, I'm happy that Johansson is alive because they Wednesday at the end of the day we were leaving and they make the buses park somewhere else, and so we rode with the glorious Hobart coaches, and they're at a stoplight to turn on the main drag right in front of the high school, and a car blew at the stoplight, and I'm sitting there and I don't know how, and Johansson didn't see it. I'm like, when we pulled up there, I go, did you see that car blow the stoplight? I go, huh? I go, yeah, you almost got T-boned, buddy. He's like, oh, I'm like, dude, I almost saw get hit pretty hard. That was like, that made my heart stop for a second, even, they're good guys and I definitely don't want to see that happen right in front of you. So
no, great guys, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of those things, man. You can't make jokes from 10 years ago, Joe. You gotta get new jokes.
Hey, I'm getting old. My material's old. Sorry. But yeah, no, that was yeah, I guess we don't all get it get the jokes, but it's been a fun couple weeks or fun week. A lot of wrestling action. Obviously, one of the biggest ranking shifters is this week.
Sure
we're adding some people in there. I'm going through some of the results to see who needs to be added and some breakout stars.
I was trying to do it at home. I wasn't able to attend the events. I got like a stomach bug. I was going to try to make it out yesterday, but it's throwing up. So just add it to my month. But man, like there's some weight classes, you just rip them all up and say, okay, well, start that one over.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that was there's fun. I mean, the Al Smith just. I think we'll touch on that one last, just because I think that that's the granddaddy of them all. I think the other events are really good too. There's no
Yeah.
question when you start bringing in 16, 32 teams, you're gonna get quality. You bring in that many teams that you're gonna have some quality there. And the Al Smith just brutal from get go. I mean, you're having state qualifiers drop out, get beat first round and have to be forced to wrestle back, things like that. And it wasn't even poor seeding. It was just more that tournament's so deep.
Yeah. I think I seen that the Al Smith head table had some great help. There was a point where they just put a 1 minute on the clock in a championship match, and those guys figured it out without having to stop the match. Pretty exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
think
no,
table help was pretty good except for Matt One. Well, Matt One just had problems all day long. Let me tell
is
you.
that guy Iowa shirt too?
Um, had really weird looking beard. Annoying table help. I mean, no. we also got a match of Fogarty and me. I didn't want to embarrass him in his home gym, so I laid off. But no, it was a good table help, well run tournament. I would try to hire him for IPO, but I'm sure the cost for him is price. I mean, that'd be the biggest expense at IPO, so I got to keep my costs down.
Yeah, I think and Steve done a good job of like adding more depth every year. I know that was one of the things he said when he like came back, that like he just wanted to keep getting good teams in, and you want to see teams there with full lineups. I think that's it's tough now with everything going on, but for the most part, it looked like a lot of those brackets were pretty stacked.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's
definitely.
what those guys.
I mean,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I mean it's so deep, and it's like when we were kind of doing the pre-seeds on Monday night, just looking at it, I was like, man, I have 5 or 6 guys that are just that need to be separated. They need to be in here, and we need to get this stuff. It's one of those things that you gotta. And I go, man, I mean, these guys can, they're gonna run into hammers early on, and we had a kid running, 16-1 kid run into Steinbeck first round. It's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Well,
And
60 was one of those weights that was just nasty,
yeah,
and there was a lot of really good kids there, and you see the top 8, and you hope that like you can kind of separate some of the guys that maybe didn't get, but it doesn't work like that. You know, you go with their criteria and you kind of stick to it. And I thought it went really well. A lot of the 1s and 2s were in the championship. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I think some of the 1s and 2s that got beat, they weren't like huge surprises. Sometimes the rankings won out on those.
Yeah.
Sometimes the rankings didn't, but
Yeah, and that's the hard part, is to be able to, I mean, seed things. And I mean, I think I had some good discussions with Steve, and we're gonna kind of powwow a little bit about it, and hopefully try to get 12 seeded next year. That's kind of the that's the kind of goal that I know that we're kind of looking at, to be able to seed 12, and which will, in the end, will eliminate people fighting for those 5 through 8, which those were where the fights are really occurring, because they know if they don't get that 5 or 6, they're going to drop out. And now they're gonna be
yeah,
like, okay, well, I'm gonna slide into a 10 or 11. That's gonna put me basically right in that 5 or 6 area. I'm gonna have to beat him, but I know I know I'm not running in 1 or 2 or 3. One of the top 4 seeds early on. I know I'm not gonna have to navigate that path. And then if one of those guys gets beat, you have to run into that too.
yeah, and I think it's difficult in some of the weights. 106, obviously, I know that one took a lot of time for you guys
Yeah,
at the seating meeting. Just you don't have as much like solid backup like when you're going over those. Like
yeah,
you could say, well, I know this kid is good. Like we knew Gavin Gendris was really good,
mm-hmm.
but it's like, but those some of those guys want to see what has he done? Like who has he beat? And it's like, well, he's IPO, and they're like, well, okay, that doesn't matter. Well, it kind of gives you an idea,
Yeah, yeah. It does
and I
give
think
you.
that's
Yeah, 106 had like 3 top. I mean, the separation. There are 3 top guys. You had May, Laraka, and Jandris. Those 3 were clearly the favorites. And then there was about 10, 12 guys that if you'd wrestle, like as I've said this multiple times to people, I go, you wrestle those next 12 guys in a round robin, they'll go 6-6 with each other. I mean, that was that even. between those next guys.
Yeah, I think Blake kind of hit it on the nose. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not, like, obviously I don't have to do that. I'm not in those meetings, and I understand everyone. I hope everyone feels that their kids are the best. They see them the most. They care about them the most. I don't know if it's a pride thing or, maneuvering. I think it's easy. Like obviously 38, you didn't have to, there wasn't like a question. You're like, okay, we got the one. Like, any argument, no one's like, my guy, John Smith, I love him the most. He should be the number one,
Yeah.
But I think you're looking at just keeping guys separated. Like, it's going to be tough either way. And you get the guys on the board, or you see it all the time. It's like, well, you got to beat everybody anyways. Like, yeah, that's cool. You're right. Like, if you're going to win it, but you don't want to see those guys, meeting up early on. Like, if that's like your mentality, like Connorsville needs teams all the time.
Yeah.
Like, they do a blind draw. Like, they don't do a seeding. You're just going in there and drawing blind, and cool. Then you're right. You have to beat everybody. Then why have a seeding meeting and waste everyone's time?
Yeah. It's the seating. I think it's just wrestling coaches are competitive. We're all competitive, and we want to, we go into a sectional seating meeting and we do fight for the seeds, and that makes a little bit more of a difference because I know I'm not going to run into I'm just trying to look at some of the, some of these guys that are on that bubble. I'm not going to run into those guys if I don't get seated. If I there's a lot of guys, semi-state level guys aren't lurking unseated at sectional.
Yeah.
And it does make a difference at sectional because you have an 8, 12, 10 man bracket. Here, you get seated, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, there's still 6, 7 other guys in your quarter bracket that are going to be hammers. So it's one of those things that I don't like to overseed my kids. I'd rather than be underseeded than overseeded. I've had it a couple times where some kids got seeded, and I'm like, no, I don't want him seeded. He's not this good. I don't want him to have that extra added pressure that, hey, wow, I'm really the 5th best kid in this weight. No, so, and I had one time where a kid got like a 5 or 6. He was like 15-2 or something. So he had a good record, but he hadn't wrestled anyone. He was a solid wrestler. He probably could have made the blood round ish type kid. And I knew he'd be better off just kind of going in there under the radar and not having that added pressure. And then he ends up going like 1 and 2 or something like that. And then like he got seeded, and another kid that I think he ended up placing ends up not seeded, even though he was truly a top 8 guy. He just had 2 or 3, like 3 losses or whatever, which is going to knock you out of that rank real quick there. So it's just one of those things that you gotta play that game. And you don't want to get your kids added bullseye on their back at that tournament, because that just, you have guys from Center Grove that are unseeded, or Mishawaka, Jimtown, Wawasee that are unseeded that are tough. You're gonna hit. I mean, you don't want that. I don't want that added pressure on my kid. I'd rather him be the hunter, not the hunted, right, in those situations.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I said someone, Morales said that looks like they seeded the top 4 at Connorsville this year.
Oh, that's good. I mean, it doesn't take much to go off previous state level experience, it doesn't take much to do it if you want to do it right. So
yeah, and I think like the guys that know, like that's the thing that, like, not that it's annoying. Obviously I don't have to deal with it, but like the people that are in the know. Mm-hmm. Like we talked about it last week, or the last show we did. Like, the same coaches that are all these events, they know who's good and who's bad. Mm-hmm. But I know there was a weight where there was a guy that didn't have criteria, and they're like, cool, draw him out of a hat. He ended up being a champ.
Yeah.
Like, the team that had him doesn't care because they know he's one of the best kids there. But he doesn't have criteria.
Yeah.
But, like, he's one of the best kids there. Like, and I think that was one of the things, like, hey, common sense. Like, all right, let's readjust this.
Yeah.
You're right. He's really good. These guys have some state experience, and this guy doesn't. He should probably be the 3 or 4, depending on how you want to go.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I always feel like is the guys that know. Mm-hmm. It's not like, like the people that they don't complain about the rankings are the people that are at all these events. Like, they have a pretty good idea where their kid's at. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
You get a lot of those. Like, I know we talk about the bad side of that, But we get a lot of good coaches that send like, hey, my kid's not at the level of whoever, but like he's right under that level. Then you might want to keep an eye out for him. Or some of the dads that have been around. Like a lot of these dads have been to these national events and they've been on the same teams as these guys. Like you see it probably more in wrestling than maybe any other sport is because we have like one unified, like basically like one unified summer thing where everyone can wrestle together and they go on all these teams. So they make these relationships and those dads know who's good and they know who's good and who's not good. You know, they're not like, oh man, like my buddy who just took up wrestling, he's going to go out and beat like Hayden Watson. Like they don't do that. Like they're like, hey, Hayden's been on a team with this kid. You might want to watch him. He's really good. He's getting better. Yeah. And I think that's huge.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking about 160. We won't be shy. And it's funny when kid didn't have criteria, plain and simple. He did some things that did not give him criteria, but everyone in that room knows he's a good wrestler. And I'm like, he's good. We need to get him seated. There's actually two guys in that weight that the two finalists, I mean, Goodwin almost didn't get seated. He ended up, they're like, oh, well, no, we're this and this. I go, he's good. You guys, you don't want to, and the coaches didn't care. They're like, okay, whatever, draw us out of a hat. And then everyone's like, no. He ended up slipping to a 7 seed. Then all of a sudden people were, certain coach was speaking up because he knew. He's like, no, I don't want to see him that early. And then, you know, it's like one of those things. It's like, no one wants to see him. Weems also, he didn't get seated. And I'm like, he's good. I mean, we had him kind of a 5-6 area. And I'm like, you want to separate him. And he didn't get seated. Where did he do? He made the finals. You know?
Yeah, and it ended up falling for Weems. It ended up falling in a good spot where he didn't get like one of the top 2 or 3 right off the bat.
Yeah,
Hector does know, man. Like Hector's in the know, man. Those guys, like I'm not lying. Like these dudes, like they go to these events. They you know, like you see, like they're hanging out all the time. Like those guys, you can put together teams. When we did that stuff before, I was just reading one of the comments. You see it all the time. Like, I mean, when we used to do the gorilla team, like you get one of those guys in, he's like, I'll talk to this guy and this guy. We'll get them in too.
Yeah.
You know, how many times did we get like, or you guys got like Gage and then Bam came over, or Bam, then everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Or Drew Hughes. Oh, I got Drew. I got Kenny. I'm going to bring on my little brother Drew, and he's going to bring on Colton Cummings and, you know, Mitch Roderick. Like, these guys all like talk and hang out. It's one, we're like a more connected world than we've ever been. And like wrestling's a very like tight community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like, we can make a couple texts and find out juicy information and things like that. I mean, it's like, and we're both well enough connected. I mean, I can make 2 or 3 texts to coaches and say, hey, you know, what's going on? You know, and, hey, there's a kid in your area that I heard is eligible or whatever. You know, what do you guys think, you know, about him? You know, what's going on here? Is he going to be eligible? What's going on? They're like, nah, we heard this or we heard that. You know, it's one of those things that, I mean, people have their ear to ground. I mean, the best coaches in the area, I mean, we can go send a message to somebody and say, hey, what's going on at this, your rival over here? Haven't seen so-and-so wrestling. They're like, oh, you know, this. I mean, and we don't have to ask, you know, people have their ear to ground. And it's crazy to realize how even since the start of the website 13 years ago, text messages, it takes 5 seconds to get information, you know, and people communicate a lot.
I mean, outside of like, and honestly, like,
as Mr. Nelson comments, we found out.
Outside of like that corner of the state, like that Evansville area is probably the hardest to get information from. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like, I would say, what do you think? And we give out a ton of information on these. You think we're giving out like maybe 20% of the stuff that we talk about?
I would love to. We could make super silverbacks for the pre and post shows because that's where the juicy stuff comes out.
I think Cameron got to sit in a little bit with when we were doing the pre-seeds, and I think that he was like kind of in awe of like the stuff that we knew, or like all you got to do is like give it a little bit of a thread. Like if you give a little bit of a thread, we'll kind of figure it out. Like there's enough people around that we know or that we have relationships with, but a lot of that relationship is built off of, hey, we're not gonna like, hey, this is happening. We're not gonna say it, and it's like one of those trust things. Like, hey, we're not gonna tell nobody you don't have to say, hey, don't tell us. Like, we kind of have an idea what to say and what not to say.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the. I mean, yeah, that's something that we built up over the years, and we got that trust, and we're not going to release. And one of the things, there's some personal issues. Like someone asked about the one Goshen kid, and he's like, "What? Well, what?" On Twitter the other day, and I'm like, he's not wrestling, and that's all we know, and that's all we care to know. I mean, we don't need to worry about details and stuff. It's not, high school kids, they make mistakes, they do dumb things. They all do that. It's not uncommon. So they're not wrestling. That's all. I mean, honestly, that's all I really care about, and hopefully, they do good things in life.
Yeah, I'm 39 years old. I make dumb mistakes every day. But I'm glad that it's not broadcast all over the thing. But that's huge, man. I think that's a big part of it. But you get that, like, the parents know, like someone said Hector, and I forgot, Hector knows. Hector's in the know, and Hector even transcends that because he knows a lot of national stuff too. Like, you could talk to him about like some of the national guys, like the post he did for the Carnahan, like that was huge. Like, hey, we got these guys coming in. Like, this guy's gonna be there. I heard this guy's backing out. That's a big part of it. And those guys, I was just telling somebody, we were talking about like old wrestling, and they were like, oh, when I was here, and I was like, yeah, probably not. Like, if you watch them, and I'm not saying like if you put those wrestlers in today's academies or level of wrestling, they wouldn't succeed. But if you took a wrestler from even like when I graduated in the early 2000s and put them now, like just the whole way it goes is different, Like, the wrestling's at such a high level, and that's a lot of good coaching and a lot of people giving back to the community. But you look at the evolution of the sport, and it's like, well, when you get all these old timers, like, when I used to wrestle, they wouldn't hang. Like, no, they would. Yeah. Like, we got guys that are world medalists. They would. They're winning Pan American championships. They would.
Yeah.
But just you take guys like that, like VZ or Jesse or any of these guys that are able to wrestle at the international level, and you're taking really good wrestlers that have a lot of talent and then putting them in better training situations, and you just see them grow. Look at the growth Jesse had over 4 years when they used to call him Mr. Blood Round, and now he's number one recruit. Yeah. You getting those or Mason. Look at Mason Paris. Hey, I'm gonna singly go on one sport, and now I'm gonna he was getting texted by Cassiope as a senior at Fargo, and now he's a world champ. The training level is just different. These really good wrestlers, and I'm sure VZ's going to get a lot of that. He's already a Pan American champ. You get into those circles and you're able to train in those environments. It just grows the sport overall. It's pretty crazy.
That's one thing when VZ made that the Pan American team is you're going to get invited to those training camps. Who's at those training camps? Number one, best coaches in the country.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have best coaches, and then you're going to have the best wrestlers in the country. So you get to train with not only the best, you get trained with and by the best and the best, and that's a huge advantage. I mean, he could be in go in the Brownsburg, Crown Point room, whatever. It's apples and oranges when you're going up to the Olympic Training Center or the Olympic, those world level camps. That's totally different. That's a different level. That's when they're just surrounded by, where you're the worst wrestler, and it's like when you go to college, and you go from being the best wrestler in the room, and now you're back on the low man on the totem pole, and you're getting beat up, you're getting taken down, and you're wondering, am I really good at this sport, or am I just, how many kids have I've talked to man, I thought I was the worst kid in the world at my first week of wrestling in college. So that's what it is, what it's like there for those kids.
Yeah, I think, there's several things you can point to those,
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen, and especially for a kid like VZ, he's going to get those opportunities, and then opportunities are going to come to him also, because at some point they're going to have recruiting is going to come his way, mm-hmm. and coaches are going to be like, you know what, we'll do a camp really close.
Yes.
Crown Point, I know RWA had that before when Jason was going through it, John Smith came and did a camp. That's cool. John Smith wants to come to the region. He must want some good food. Yeah. And then they had, Sean Bormat did a camp at Crown Point. Tom Ryan did a camp or not Tom Ryan, but
Jaggers.
Jay Jaggers and Stiebler did a camp there. And now, like, not only are you getting better, like all the people are getting better.
And
And I think that's huge.
Yep. So, I guess we went on. That's a pretty good rant.
Yeah.
20-minute rant. Let's talk about the wrestling that actually happened.
Actual wrestling. Let's go.
Man, I honestly, I will be honest, I did not pay that much attention to anything outside the Al Smith because I was immersed in that.
I was watching track wrestling all day, watching some stuff.
Yeah. Talk about Modern Day classics, since Modern Day was there and kind of ran away with it a little bit. I mean, 39 points. It's not crazy running away.
Oh yeah, he's a big boy. Quinn said, I got that text Saturday morning too. Quinn said, Hunter made weight, and that's that's a 6'7", all of 285 or whatever he can be.
Yes.
Whatever he's after weigh-ins, because I know he had to trim some of that weight off.
Yeah.
And they did it the right way with the program. And I see Mr. Christian Caro was on the mat this weekend too.
Yes. So he will be back this week. This coming, I think I don't know when his exact date that he can wrestle is, but he will be, from everything we have heard, that he'll be at Team State wrestling, first high school match.
Yeah.
He was 0.1 over 20 minutes before weigh-ins. Oh, geez. So I bet all the little guys that always cut weight, probably were just laughing at him running. I know in college, my freshman year, there was a heavyweight that was cutting weight. Of course, he was like, "Oh, I'm 5 pounds overweight." Then he went and ran for like 5 minutes, and he's on weight, which pissed me off. But yes, I'm sure they all like that. I know it's there. Hunter sent a tweet out. Guess who's back with a nice little lat drop. So he's a big dude.
Yeah.
He is a real big dude.
He's a big athletic. He put a lot of strength on. I know like that was a big thing for him last year, especially for football. His lifts he had some big lifts. Follow him on Twitter. He's huge.
Yeah, I was talking to Terry O'Neill, Westfield coach, and he was asking us, "Did you guys see the New Prairie kid?" They're like, "Huh? No." Like, did you see him? He's like, "No. Who were you talking about?" He says, like, if you saw him, you would see him. You wouldn't. You're not forgetting this dude.
Terry's a great dude, man. That's one of the best dudes, right?
Yeah, Terry's no small fella by any means. And I mean, it'd be. He's like, yeah. I go. The best is just looking at those. I love seeing those pictures of him with his high school team, and it looks like it's like a kindergarten teacher with all their students, because he's just like, he is not even just a head. He's like midway here, bigger than than everybody.
I know I looked at it before. Like he has like a legit Hunter has like a legit like football profile, like the ones that you send to like those like elite camps.
Yeah,
it's not like, oh, like I'm gonna put this one on and I'm gonna make up my own stats. What's crazy is he has a brother that like wrestles like 32.
Yeah.
Nice. They have him listed as 6'7", 320. I don't know if he's 320, but he's big. He's a big boy.
He was at most 287 the other day. Yesterday or the day before.
He's a big man.
Yeah,
he's a big young man.
Yes, and he's playing football at Illinois next year. So, that's, you get to go to Big Ten football. You're pretty good. You are going to be. You get a free education to play a sport in college. That's pretty cool. I don't care whether you're D1, Big Ten, or NEIA or whatever. Get a college education for free is pretty cool.
Yeah, and U of I does a good job. They're a good school.
Yeah.
But man, you're talking about Bishop Sycamore. That's where he's playing. But man, think about like if you're New Prairie and you're like hoping, this is like what you've been trying to get. You get into Team State, and now you get like two of your like probably better, like your best guys back, right?
Yeah.
Like one, Christian Caro is probably one of the best guys in anybody's lineup. So you're gonna get Caro back, and you're gonna get Hunter back. Like you could almost pencil in 12 every match.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's gonna be. We've talked about it a little bit, probably off air more, but the only bad thing is you can't move them around to try to get, throw in, if Carroll's at 95, you could bump him around and try to get a better matchup. And if you have a good 95 or decent, you could get better matchups. The bad thing is you can't bump either of those guys around, so you're gonna need to. I mean, that's the especially at the 2A level. You always look at. I know Dane always says the movable parts. Where do they have a good backup that they can shove in and bump a couple kids up? So, but yeah,
I guess we go back to modern day. Modern day. How about those? Like, what are they? 8th graders? They were saying.
Yeah.
The Rainies. Those guys are good, man. Beat Schaefer.
Yeah, Majored Schaefer beat Sang, who was a placer last year, so that's pretty impressive. What did they say? Did they have their grades on there?
Yeah,
both 8th graders. Jeez.
They said one was a state champ last year as a 7th grader.
Yeah.
So not too bad. Union County usually has a couple guys that are just like hammers, and usually the last name's Irvin, but
yeah,
or they had Escamilla, right?
4 8th graders in their lineup, so they're 13 kids. But yeah, modern day, Schaefer was second, Sang was second. Both lost to 8th graders. And, I mean, that's pretty, especially Sang, who's a junior. First loss of the year. Gilbert over Billerman, and then Reed Egley was third there.
Yeah, Reed Egley took a loss early on to Vince Kessinger. I haven't seen Vince Kessinger from Floyd Central, but on the stand, like he looked like he was pretty big for 120.
Yeah.
Like in the pictures. Zerko Bach, who was, what was he, 4th last year?
Yeah.
4th. So pretty good weight class there.
Yeah, Zerko Bach lost to Billerman in the semis 2-1, and then lost to Egley in the Conti semis 6-5. That's a tough weight class. I mean, that was pretty loaded. What else do we have? 26, Union County, Ekman over Morton, Keaton Morton.
Yeah, Caleb Wise came back and took 3rd. Kelby Glenn's having a good year for Tell City. Landon Horning, a freshman from Memorial. I know, like, there's been some buzz. He was on the new names post. He's had some really good wins.
Yeah, and that's a solid finish there. Kelby Glenn's pretty solid. So is Weiss. I'm not sure where he was elsewhere. Let me see. Who did he lose to there? He lost to Morton 8-2. Morton a semifinalist? No, he was a qualifier. There, so
he had some good hair last year. I don't know if he's still rocking it.
Yeah. So
he's on the all hair team. Him and Tommy Morrill.
Yeah, 32 Corey Hammock, and he's up pretty heavy.
13 to 32, not a bad jump.
And then he beat Keegan Williams, who we just had an article on Wednesday. He was a state qualifier last year, so that's a good win, especially coming up from 113. 20 pounds.
Drew Willis was 5th there. Drew Willis was in the rankings, only his 3rd loss, so took 2 losses there.
Yeah. Braden Lowry, pretty dominant. Beat Knable, Louis Knable. He's another one. Wasn't he like 6 or 13 last year?
He might have been 120 last year.
Yeah. Yes. Nate Johnson has a very nice mullet, and he is fun to watch.
I'm about to put some eyeballs on this mullet at Team State.
Yes. Yeah. Matt Kuntz at 45 beats Zach Wilson 5-0 in the finals.
Wilson's on 2 losses.
Yeah.
Right. Lost him at Marion County. Lost him here.
Mm-hmm. So. 52, Cody Glethero over Turner from Spencer Turner from Mater Dei. Kind of was a bracket buster there, I guess. He beat Jude Barger and then beat St. Xavier Gid Krebs. Pretty not the deepest weight there. 160 Conway. It's pretty.
You said Bryce.
Oh, sorry. Bryce Lowry.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta give the respect.
Yes. Jay Conway, 11-6 over Chris Newman.
It's a good match.
Yeah.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like Chris Newman's been in high school for 6 years.
Yeah. Yes, and he started out at 106. So
I think that he had a brother that also wrestled in that same area, right?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was pretty good weight class there. Yeah, another Pierre from Mater Day was fourth. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see. Hunter May didn't wrestle. Someone said that he was sick or has a little bit of an injury. So that will be interesting to watch. Brody Bauman over Cody Kwaja, 8-3. So that's good. And then you had Aiden Farmer was also there, got fourth. He's pretty solid weight class. He ended up losing to Gavin Ricketts in the for third in overtime. 182 was run by Trinity, and then Luke Hansen was in the finals.
I was gonna say, I think that's Luke Hansen's first loss on the year.
Yeah. And then 195, Little over Solers. 9-2. I know they've gone back and forth, haven't they?
Yeah, I think that was a rubber match. That one I think was a little bit further than the other two.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone had posted on the page that they had their knees like taped up pretty big or had a big brace on, and like I said, this is the chippy time of year. So anything that you put out there, people are gonna say, well, they look like they were fine. They won the tournament or they're a championship, but. Hopefully those guys are full go. You want to see those guys healthy for the state tournament.
Yep.
Only makes it better. A couple other guys in that weight. Rowan Hammond, who's real tough from Perry Meridian, and Sam Peoples. Peoples 11 or 18-2.
Yeah. So Peoples over Hammond for third. Critchfield over Whitman. Wyatt Whitman, who was a placer last year. Pinned him in a minute, which is very good. Then you had Gavin Jenkins from Floyd Central over Nolan Skaggs in the quarters.
Yeah, I saw that Nolan Skaggs did not place there. It was interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty big there. He ended up getting beat by a Union County kid. Kellen Farmer was third. He beat Jenkins, so that was a really deep weight class there.
A couple articles on those guys, right? Kelton Farmer was in that article.
Yep.
This week, they said he likes to lift weights.
Yes.
And then, man, that Critchfield article was crazy.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was a fifth-year senior. I guess.
No.
And I know Mike Morgan was texting me about that. I briefly read over the articles and then I post them because usually I'm at work or at lunch break. And I reread that again. And I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't realize that. But yeah, they last time that was it Kaufman from Mishawaka that got a fifth year because he had a cancer for like a year. Had all that. I think it was Kaufman. Or someone will correct me. I know we were talking about it, and I was like, man, that's pretty. You don't get a fit. I mean, he was a little bit young for his grade. It looked like, anyway. So he was able to do that, take the year out, and that's pretty cool that he's able to come wrestle and get his year back because I'm sure he wasn't in school last year very much.
That was a crazy article, man. I mean, he still deals with it every day, and scary, man. Just as a parent, that's scary.
Yeah. Heavyweight.
Big James, man.
Big one. Big James Ralph over Jacob Johnson. That's a big win there. That's good going into Team State where that's a weight where Monterey's going to need some production, and beating a two-time qualifier is pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think James Ralph's been in their lineup for 3 years for sure, right? He's been their heavyweight.
Yeah, seems like he's been around for a while.
And he's an athletic kid. That's a huge win. They said that the live feed cut out. Like he was losing, they cut out and came back. He was winning. I was watching the Al Smith finals, but that's a huge win for him. Just makes that semi-state deeper. Like think about, you're looking at that. That could probably be a possible ticket round. I mean, Johnson's in the same regional as Jones. Not that Johnson can't beat Jones. I know. I believe it was an overtime match. But that's not what you want to see. I mean, Evansville's nasty though, man.
Yeah.
I know. I think I've been saying that, and I think for some reason, like I get out here and I only represent the region. And I love the region, but man, like they're like, you hate Evansville. I'm like, man, if you live in Evansville, you should try to go to the region because that thing is nasty. It's gonna be tough to find a way out of there. There's some of those weights you look at and you're just like, dude, that's brutal. 120 is brutal.
Yeah, that's there's some good weights there, and that's crazy to see what I mean. Yeah, 120 is just that's gonna be ugly from the get go. Um, are the Connersville brackets on track?
I heard next year, man.
Yeah,
I heard they're gonna be on there next year.
Yeah.
I saw Portage won.
Yes.
I didn't even know Portage was at Connersville this year. Hey, I'm thankful that we had someone there taking pictures of the brackets, sending them in.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way it is right now. It's funny. It's funny and it's not funny. Like it's funny that like to see like the people's jokes that they say. Like I think someone said like the reason that they keep using paper brackets is because they like bought stock in them because they have these really old looking like
yes.
there. That was great. I seen that they changed the name to the Mac Taylor Connersville Spartan Classic. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, and the best part is Matt M is making fun of them, and he's from Seymour, the epitome of technology in the United States.
They didn't post. I mean, I'm not trying to be critical. I appreciate every update we get from Connersville.
Yes.
Because and there's like weights in there. I'm like, where's this guy at? And even like the Portage over Northwestern, I'm trying to do like the numbers. Okay, that's Tolbert and Heather Crawl. It's a good match, and so you try to go through there. And but I appreciate it. Like I think that there's always some really good matches up there.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get the brackets mysteriously sent to us soon, so we can post them and look them over and get some significant matches in there.
You gotta be nice with the AD, man.
Yeah, I've seen they do every so often. I'll do it maybe earlier in the week. They're probably not checking their emails right now, but yeah, it's always a fun adventure with it's our annual. What are we gonna get out of Connersville?
They said they're like the whole rest of the world. They order the internet stuff. It's on back order. It's in the Harpers. It's not in the United States right now. They're coming in. It's going to be on track next year.
Yes.
I believe them.
Yeah.
I ordered cat food a month ago. I still haven't got it. I didn't know that was one of the things that's on back order. I ordered it from Amazon. I've had to go out and buy cat food like 3 times.
Nice. Nice. Well, yeah, so everything's, blame the cat food shortage, everything.
I know I got like this cat we bought. We got it from the pound. And it only eats like this certain kind of cat food. It's all extra bougie. Took it out of cat jail, and now it only wants to eat one. I got like 6 things of cat food that he won't eat.
Nice. Nice. That's nice. So, we'll move on to the Mooresville Holiday Classic. So, I believe.
Always a really good tournament too. I feel like we should put a ranking on these, right? Like I personally, I feel like Al Smith won, and then like we'll see what everyone else feels on there.
Yeah, pretty solid. I mean, Carmel over Castle. Delta was in the mix. Carmel, I don't know if they had it. They didn't have a 26. It doesn't look like.
Yeah, I don't think Ward wrestled. They had a couple guys out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ward. I didn't see they're 13 also, right?
Yeah, they had Jackson Elliott, who ended up finishing 4th, which isn't bad. They only had 1 champ. They had 2 others in the finals. But there's obviously still a pretty solid team to be able to win that tournament. I mean, you got Castle, Hamilton Southeastern, Owen Valley had a real good tournament. They beat Monrovia. Monrovia, Delta, and Owen Valley were those last 3 to try to get 2 spots at Team State. Terre Haute South, Martinsville, Franklin Central. Franklin Central looked like they had a skeleton crew there.
Another article, man, that was a sad article.
Yeah, yes, that was another good one that we had there. So check that out. Check that article out. A lot of stuff they've overcome there at Franklin
Yeah,
Central. So,
Coach Moore doing a pretty good job over there. I
yeah,
think those guys have been contenders.
yeah. The brackets, you had Aiden Bollinger, Delta over. Where's he at?
Brennan Leonard of Martinsville.
Martinsville. You have Halavi from Carmel, who's pretty solid. He beat Joey Klein. Pretty good weight class overall.
Yeah, Gavin Ash. I think he lost pretty early and wrestled back, right?
Yes, he did. He might have lost first round.
I know he's pretty tough. He's been in the rankings. Tough freshman.
Yeah, he lost
Aiden,
to the Leonard. He lost to Leonard 5-4 and ended up wrestling back.
Bollinger, I believe, man, I don't know. I think he's a little small for the weight, just kind of based on some of his old weights coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good win for him. I know the count's been saying, like, watch that guy and that he's going to be pretty good. It's a good win.
Isaac Ash from Monrovia, pretty dominant at 113. No real big names there. 120, Neil Mosier, dominant over Logan Ellis, who was pretty solid senior from Castle. Beat Carter Overby from Yorktown, who only has 3 losses. Also,
Couple seasons that way, right?
Who was?
So that Carter Ober is a senior, Logan Moore is a senior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Overby over Moore. KT Nelson and Trevor Hott, 7-5. Close match there.
Yeah, Trevor Hott had a real good offseason too.
Yeah.
One freshman, sophomore.
Yeah, it looks like Nelson's had, a couple. He's been tested, which is good. I mean, he's going to be a tough out at anyone at 126. And then you had Hot over Branson Weaver from Owen Valley. I know Weaver had a close match with Nelson too.
I mean, yeah, so it's 2 losses there to Hot and KT Nelson.
Yeah. So Weaver ends up getting 3rd. You got Michael Major, real tough freshman from Carmel, over Ashton Brandon from Franklin Central, 11-2.
Yeah, I think that was his first loss in the year too. Yeah, Ashton Brandon's.
And then Aiden Ameno is a former state qualifier from Evansville Central that Major pinned in the semis. So,
yeah, Michael Major's pretty tough.
Yeah. Ameno ended up getting 3rd. You got Cash Turner, another one. We had a good article. Tech Fall, Tech Fall. Beat a pretty good Dylan Tuttle from Delta. Tuttle's been in the mix. I think he's had some issues in the postseason, but pretty solid wrestler there. He had to beat Caden Andrews from South Ridge in the semis.
I believe Cash Turner beat Caden Sheldon. Is that who beat him in the bracket? Caden Sheldon's had a nice season so far too. Franklin Central.
And then Tyler Lee from what's NOR? That Northview over Nate Lomick from Terre Haute South. Lomick's pretty solid. That was his first loss on the year.
Yeah. I think Lomick came down a weight also. That's a pretty good win for Tyler Lee. Mm-hmm. I have to look into and see his losses too. But that's pretty good. I'm sure if we ask someone to tell us, it'll be good.
Yep. Luke Robards from Evansville Central having a good season. He hasn't lost yet. The closest match was 13-0. Pinned pretty solid Eaton Halavi from Carmel.
Yeah, I believe he was a freshman sophomore state champ also.
Yeah.
Luke Robards.
Yes. At 60, Luke Kemper. Damn brothers. Over Nathan Powell from Carmel. 12-8.
Sounds like those guys are putting some points up on the board.
Yes.
Combined 20, not a bad day.
Yeah. Then you had Hamilton Southeastern, Ryan Cass having a good season over Chase Hostetler for Bloomington North. Hostetler beat Luke Leclerc. I think he got in one of the rankings. I remember creating a profile for him, Tech Fall, in the semis. And you got Brady Denny, who's pretty solid. Casted with the 7-5 match over him in the semis. Evan Raff at 182. Got beat 5-4 over Reed Schroeder from Southridge.
Rich Schroeder's a state qualifier last year or 2 years ago.
Let's see.
Maybe I could be wrong.
I do not have him listed as a state qualifier.
Maybe I'm wrong. I have him on rankings list as a qualifier.
Maybe. Well, let's see. We'll look. There's a website for that. Let's see teams.
That's a good weight.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Reed Schroeder, Evan Raff, Jerry McBee, who's been in the rankings. Nick Scone from Terre Haute North, who's been in the rankings. Luke Bollocks, Martinsville. That's a Alex Rose. I think I bet those are some of his first losses. Yeah, 19-2, 7th place.
Yeah, he lost to Aiden Warren last year. So yeah, you're right.
Come on.
He didn't have a link to his
last Friday of the new year.
Oh, I guess there it is. Yeah, I did. I missed that. So, 195. John Purdy is good at wrestling. Pinned Max Broom, was a state qualifier last year.
Yeah. Good at wrestling, good at football.
Yes.
So he's doing his thing.
Broom over Samuel Saunders. Terre Haute North 3-2, and Broom's pretty solid. He's a one-time state qualifier, right?
And then, yeah, I mean, Eli Henshaw's good. That's a good weight also. That's pretty deep weight class.
Yeah. Purdy with 3 pins.
You think he'll be in the next national rankings after they went over Salers?
I don't know. That'll be interesting. I mean, that's most likely, I'd say. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I haven't even paid that much attention. Yeah. 220 is Zach Inzarello from Castle. Had a pretty good day. Major pin. I'm sure he gets to wrestle with Purdy every day, so I'm sure that doesn't hurt him one bit.
Yeah, beat a real tough Quentin Keese in the championship.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And then Dom Burgett, still undefeated from Hamilton Southeastern. He has a win over Big Mike. At 220, he beat Andrew Just from Franklin Central, who they just have heavyweights at that school. If you could enter like 7 heavyweights, I think they might place top 7 in the state.
Yeah, and then Just beat Logan McGraw, Owen Valley.
Yeah, McGraw only has 2 losses on the year, and he ended up taking a loss in the finals. I don't know what
he injured or faulted out.
Yeah, for a third. So I don't know what happened there. So those are his only 2 losses. So pretty good weights there. Pretty good to see some teams that we don't get to measure them against other teams. I mean, we see Carmel. We get a lot of stuff from Carmel. You don't see a lot from Castle, Delta. It's good to see a lot of those teams together, wrestling together, and kind of getting that, being able to have something to measure those guys with.
Yeah, a good day.
You want to touch on the North Montgomery?
Yeah, I thought North Montgomery. I like the way they do that with the duels, and then they go into like individual bracket the next day. It used to just be straight. That's where we wrestled when I was in school. Kaima used to go to North Montgomery Super Duel. So if you had a bad weekend, you just took 8 losses. It was all duel. You didn't get to say, "Well, I had a bad weekend. I just went 0-2 and still have a sparkling record." And I believe it was like it's changed the year. Like it's changed over the years. Like I know Newcastle was there. Carmel used to be there.
Yeah, it was my first year coaching at Northrop. We went there, and it was just we didn't even have a team that should have been there. I think we only beat North Montgomery, and it was just a shellacking. Bloomington South, Warren Central. It was just like, holy cow.
Yeah, that was like one of those ones. Like that was when Newcastle was still really good. Warren Central, Carmel. You just go out there and you're like, oh, cool. I'm not that good at it. I have to go out here and take these L's. Lawrence North was there.
Yeah.
So some of those teams have kind of migrated over to the Al Smith, but man, it's still a good tournament. They do that, but they split it now. I think they started doing it when Swain was there. Mm-hmm. Now they do like one day of duels. They kind of feed you into a individual tournament, which is good. You want your guys to get matches, but a lot of good matches there.
Yeah. Um, 106, Juliana Ocampo over Aiden Dallinger from McCutcheon. Ocampo's pretty good at wrestling. Yeah, Tori
Yeah,
Buchanan was third. Oh,
and she lost to Dallinger. Dallinger has a couple wins over Mason Jones of Lawrence Lake Central, who we'll talk about in a second, I'm sure,
yeah,
with,
and then
with the Al Smith. So he's
Buchanan,
pretty tough.
Buchanan beat a pretty solid Benton Knable from Western too. So yeah, two girls that are pretty tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see either of those girls at state.
Man, we could have four. I mean, I had to go back and look. So sometimes like I mess the numbers up on the. It's a coded thing, and sometimes I mess the numbers up. So maybe they don't go in there. But man, they were like someone that took a shot. Like, yeah, these girls are proving the rankings wrong, and I'm like, wait, like Ocampo's been ranked, right?
Yeah,
Like I
yes,
had to check. And then I know Joy Cantu's been ranked for a little bit. Heather Crawl's ranked. So there's some really tough female wrestlers doing it at the varsity level right now.
yeah. 113 Tanner Tishner over Easton Doster. Real good match, 3-1. That's Doster's pretty tough.
Oh yeah, that's a good weight because Wyatt Davis is good too from Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Doster's good.
Yeah,
It's a good match.
Ethan Holloway undefeated from Rochester over Ty Lisner, who is a former Fishers wrestler.
Ocampo got MVP also. That's a good match. Dallinger's good.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she's at the state finals. The first one since Miracle.
Yep.
I don't think anyone would be shocked. I mean, what is she? I know like the last update she was 10. I had to see where it falls this time. I try to take all the numbers off and then put it in order. But man, she's tough.
Yeah, she's right in that mix. Then you had Christian Arbery from Warren Central over Aiden Rab at 126.
Warren Central had a couple guys out too. Obviously, Carell Lavelle's not there.
Yeah. Joey Butler moving up a weight for the weekend beats Mason Stanley from Rochester. No.
Rensselaer.
Rensselaer. Then 138 Lake and Webb lost to Keegan Granadetti from
Sir Whiteland. Whiteland's starting to put some guys together too. Joey Butler. Yeah. I seen Eli wrestled this past weekend. Also, he didn't wrestle in the bracket, but he wrestled at 26. So I'm sure they'll have some things they can move around there. Mm-hmm. They're putting a pretty solid squad together. Yeah. But that's a huge win for Keegan over Larkin Webb. Larkin Webb had been wrestling really well.
Yeah. 145 Lars Hughes. Man, they already have 30 matches. Jeez. Over
Lars out here putting in work, man.
Yeah, Gage Gully of what's that? Noblesville.
2-1. That's a good match.
Yeah. Mitchell Betts from Western. He's undefeated right now at 52 over Tristan Hood from Harrison, which that's a good match. 5-1. Hood's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think he's beaten him a couple times this year now.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, 3 or 4 of his losses. I don't know if they're all the bets, but I bet 2 of them are. And Brenton Russell had a pretty good day also. Mm-hmm. Grayson Guard in there also. That's a good weight.
Yeah. Guard ended up losing to Richardson, Carter Richardson from Noblesville. So real deep weight class there. Deegan Pleak from Western over Gavin McKee from Rochester in the finals. Pleak pretty dominant.
Still undefeated.
Yep. Hayden Shepard over Anthony Cashman has a good match, 5-1. Shepard's having up at 170 after wrestling 50 or 45 last year. Gained some weight. Shepard beat Vincent Tinoco, who's pretty solid from Whiteland.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Ethan Pop from Harrison at 70 also. I know he's wrestled some 82.
Mm-hmm. And Mike Durham from Warren Central wins over Blake Driver from Whiteland at 182, 195. Alex Deming from Rochester, he's pretty solid over Hastings.
I know Hastings been in the rankings.
Yeah, Austin Hastings from Noblesville. 220. Brady Beck, who's pretty good, also over Jordan Cree from
Runs.
Rensselaer. And
Yeah,
then
that's a good weight. There,
yeah,
I mean, you're 5 deep in that weight. Jakari Oliver's been ranked. I know he had a really good freshman sophomore state. Jacob Long's been in the rankings. Cole Ciccone, McCutcheon's solid. I was just talking to someone. Man, you guys love to stack weights out at Fort Wayne, right?
oh,
Like 220
220
is gonna
is
take
brutal.
control. Like
220.
you guys don't talk and just say, hey, how about you four go 220, us four go 95, maybe get some guys 82.
Yeah.
Spread that out, man.
Yeah, we don't talk. We we all like, yeah, because 220 is just brutal. 220 is brutal in our regional. Um, and that's not a weight that you want to go. So, heavyweight, Makai Watts over Marshall Fishback, giving him his first loss as a good match. And then, yeah, so that's pretty good event where they have 16 teams there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think that's an interesting way to split it up where, if you take your team there, they're all going to get a good amount of matches. And then the individual side of it. But it's always cool to see, like, hey, these guys wrestled in the duel the day before, and then they wrestle and the result changes. So
yeah. So the Al Smith, pretty good little tournament. Crown Point putting 9 in the finals.
yeah, we don't have the information all in front of us, but I think we're leaning towards that might be a record.
Yes. We have about 10 years worth of stuff on Track Wrestling and some other brackets I found that I had. And it was, only very rarely, only once or twice I saw that someone got over 300 points. And that was Penn when they were like state championship team. But, and even Center Grove at 282, they would have won almost every other year. There's only one other year that I saw that I think it was Penn or Mishawaka had like 290. So 282 is a lot of points. And both those teams placed 13? Did Center Grove place 13 or 12? Yeah, they placed 13. They 12.
Yeah. Crown Point put 13 through. And the one that didn't get through was Captor at 13, and that was, it was just a tough weight. Mm-hmm. But we talked about it. I'm not as familiar like in the 90s of it. I know Belmont had some really good 90s teams. I thought I know we had one of the Derek's teams when he was at Mishawaka. Had some really, the year they won it with like Guerrera and all those guys, Travis Thomas and Christian Lentz. They had a lot of guys. And then I don't know, like maybe 04 Lawrence North had a pretty good showing there.
Yeah.
I know but the tournament's stacked too. I think that's like I know we talked about the impressive thing is like there wasn't a lot of easy like outs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was like doing when you're looking, we talked about it to start off. When we were doing like the pre-seeds, like some of those weights, you could go 12 to 15 and you're like, this is brutal, right?
Yeah.
And to get 13 through to day 2 or to get 12 through to day 2 and put 9 under the lights, like you're almost like saying, hey, we could wrestle a duel against the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. and win quite a few of those. You had just some of these weights are just brutal. Seedings are always kind of play into a little bit of how things work out in some of the weights where, some of the earlier matches, at 106, Jondris, pretty dominant. Got a defensive fall in May in the semifinals. He was winning it might have been like 2-1 or 2-0, something like that. But May had legs in and he trapped the head and it was over. It wasn't even, he had nowhere to go.
He's tough, man. Jalen May's tough. LaRocca's tough.
Yeah. So, he had LaRocca. Mason Jones beat Seth Albin for the 84th time this year, I think.
But yeah, if Seth, how many losses? Seth Albin has 5. I believe Mason Jones had 3 of those losses.
Nice. And then, then you had like Gavin Bragg was unseeded, came in with 4 losses, ends up finishing 4th, kind of where we had him preceded. And it's like he had 4 like really good losses. There was no, those are solid losses, and there's like one of those things that's like, come on, dude, we got to get these guys seated here.
Oh,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
they wrestled again for fifth, so they're getting well acquainted with each other. So
Cameron Meyer, an unseated guy. Did the Penn kid, was it Smitchentoff? Smittendorf. That's a long name, man.
Yeah. And he does
when he gets his letterman jacket, you gotta leave that thing blank. It's too many letters.
Yes. It's gonna cause him an arm and a leg just to get that embroidered on. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna talk about 113. Do you have anything else on 106?
I thought Genders looked good in the championship. 10-6, I think he had cut him late. He was trying to go for a major. I think that was a cool thing to see, like the guys in the finals really going for it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. 113. We had a rematch of the state finals. Ashton Jackson over Evan Dickey. Really just a one-move match. Got a couple Merkles.
Yeah, he's good with it though.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, the first time, Dickey just reached, and next thing you know, his hand's on the mat, and he's like, "What just happened?" So it's going to be interesting seeing that possibly go forward. What they, if obviously Cathedral's going to make some adjustments. Liam Kruger from Massys had a good tournament, got third over Johnny Cortez. Really good weight there.
Yeah, did Cortez and Shammer wrestle again? I know those guys like to wrestle a lot also.
Cortez and Shammer, yes, they wrestled in the quarterfinals. Cortez won 6-4.
Those guys like to trade back and forth losses, so yeah, that's their favorite.
Yeah.
Eddie Goss, tough freshman at Center Grove. Really good tournament for him. He'll be in the next update of the rankings.
Yeah, Dylan Bennett from Penn did he lose first? No, he was the other Penn kid. But yeah, he came in. I mean, when you're talking a state qualifier seeded 6th, you know how deep that weight class is. He ends up 7th. Tommy Frazier from Zionsville, pretty solid there. 120. Biggest match was Noah Likens taking out Ike Rubel 14-8. That was a crazy. I didn't see what chance. I guess he got put to Rubel got put to his back early and just couldn't claw back, and Likens just when you're kind of forcing things, bad things happen. Likens just sitting back waiting for you to make a mistake and kept capitalizing on it. They ended up wrestling for third, and Rubel pinned him in the second period.
So. Yeah, like that whole weight just loaded. That's a loaded weight class. I mean, 120 is always like one of those weight classes that's like a catch-all weight. But you're talking Reese Courtney wrestled out of his mind. The championship match was awesome. That was a great match.
Yeah.
He came from behind to win that against DeMarco.
Yeah, Courtney over Hayden Brady in the quarters 2-1. Brady ends up finishing 8th. He ran into Rubel in the consolations, and then ended up
an angry
post match. I mean, an angry Rubel.
I don't know if that's true. Ike Rubel looks like a kid that doesn't get very angry.
Yeah, but so that, I mean, you're talking the champion was 2-1 with the 8th place finisher. That's how close that weight class. I mean, run that weight class again. Maybe throw seeds a little bit different. You had Braxton Vest, who's a state placer, ended up 6th.
Evan Cruz, state qualifier, beat Brady 1-0, ultimate tiebreakers.
Yes, that was one of the most exciting. It was a 0-0. Cruz ended up winning the flip and rode him out, and they were just scrambling around, and I would not have wanted to ref that match because they were all but out all the time. They're both tall, lanky, and just hanging on each other. Gorilla grips, I guess. So it was a crazy match, but I mean, yeah, that's just a deep weight class there. I mean, looking at some of the guys that didn't even place, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that whole weight is that weight was just. I mean, like I said, it's like a catch-all weight where you get like 6-pounders and 13s and 20s return at that same weight. I mean, you had some tight matches just to qualify for the next day,
Yeah.
Tough ones.
Yeah. 126, Logan Frazier over Vargo. Teo Vargo, pretty dominant, controlled the match pretty heavily. I mean, Frazier's pretty tough. He had 17-5 over Tharp in the semis. Vargo and Josh Johnson was a real good match in the semis. Johnson did, I mean, had him almost on his back. I don't know how he didn't get a counter or a takedown, and Vargo ended up kind of just bridging through and end up almost putting him to his back. So it was a real good match. They got after it. Johnson, compared to Vargo, he looked a little bit small, but I mean, he just wasn't. Vargo was pretty thick, and Johnson kind of just looks. He doesn't look strong, but I'm pretty positive he's strong.
Not a bad pickup for Cathedral.
Yeah.
Coming off an ankle injury last year, and Logan Frazier's wrestling at a high level. I mean, we could see that a couple more times. That was 1 and 2 in the state. Vargo and Frazier, obviously Dickey and Jackson was 1 and 2. So you're gonna get like a lot of 1 and 2s there. But that's a good weight overall. Bo Barbender is a return state qualifier. Killamani had beat him before. Dylan Tom, and Dave Maldonado. Those are all guys that are right in the rankings, are right in the mix.
Yeah. Going round 132, Zeke Seltzer over Anthony Ball. Increased it a little bit. It was a close match a couple weeks ago. Ball just tough to wrestle, tall, lanky. You had Ball over Czar Walker, who beat that. That was a crazy weight class. You got Jasper Grable, who was undefeated. Bryce Denton first round. Graber wins, sends Denton to the consolations, and he ends up, Graber and Walker 3-1. Then you got Wyatt Krejcia over Devin Wibble, who was a state qualifier last year. Seltzer pretty dominant up in his half of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, even like the matches, like the blood round matches, you had Weibel and O'Neill. And O'Neill wins that. You had Houghton and Rowdenbush. Hagwood beat Farrote there, pinned him. And then Stuckman beat Graber. I mean, just the whole weight was like, that's one of the ones that you probably could have went 12 deep there.
Yeah, that was just a brutal weight. I mean, and the surprise right there is Hagwood from
Prairie Heights.
Prairie Heights. What's his first name? I know there's 2 twins.
Brock.
Is it nice, click on his link, Brock. Yeah. Ends up 5th, beating some pretty good guys. End up beating Stuckman, beat Farrote from Belmont. Yeah, he got on a roll and lost first round, and ended up he lost first round to Krejcia, and then ended up wrestling all the way back, wrestled him again. So he took 2 losses and both to Krejcia. So
that wrestleback's no joke, man. You get in the you lose first round. That thing's tough to get all the way back to the next day.
Yeah, that was just a brutal weight when you're seeing guys like Graber who beat a state qualifier. Denton didn't even make it. Where Denton get put out at? Denton got he didn't even make it to the blood round, and he's a state qualifier. He lost to Rowderbush. Is that the good Rowderbush? Is that the younger one? I know that there's Ethan.
Pretty good. Yeah. I think Ethan's a senior and Evan's a freshman. I think Ethan's smaller than Evan.
Okay. Yeah. They're both pretty solid. You got Thaddeus O'Neill over Wibble for in the blood round. And I know we were fairly high on Wibble or on O'Neill, sorry, and Wibble. We like Jason Edward Cook. We may or may not have had O'Neill as an 8 seed, but no one wanted to seed him. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's one of those things. You look at it, it's like, hey, Weibel. It's Weibel. Thank you. I knew that. I don't know why I changed it. They told me that before. Yeah. But it's one of those things you look at it and, like what's his criteria? He's good. His losses are good. Mm-hmm. And like how much work he's put in. But it's, I guess it's one of those things like what's it look like on paper,
Yeah. 138. Jesse Mendez is good at wrestling. He wrestled Wesley Harper in the finals. Harper kind of did a little bit of a hip toss way out of bounds, and the crowd got really rowdy.
Yeah.
I was talking to Steve Crawl, who does our Monday articles, And he's like, what do you think's going to happen here? I go, well, it depends on what Jesse wants. If Jesse wants to pin him in the first period, he will. If he wants to go to the second period, he'll go to the second period. And then right after that, the crowd got a little rowdy, and Jesse's like, hey, we're done. And I'm like, after that, I was like, it's not going to last much longer. And it now lasts about 20 seconds longer.
And that's no disrespect to Wesley Harper, who's tough.
Yeah.
It's just that's Jesse was the OW. Went to the Al Smith 3 times, won it 3 times. Yeah. I think he's beat like a pretty good who's who there too.
No, that's Brad's. It's not Brad's son. It's his nephew. What's his brother's name? I can't think of it.
Chad?
Is it what?
Chad Harper.
Yeah, I believe that's Chad's son. But yeah, so big ups. You had Lucas Clement over Dominic Litchfield first round. Litchfield ends up wrestling all the way back for third, so he took the scenic route. He wanted to get more matches in, I guess.
And that's a tough match early on too, because Lucas Clement's been wrestling really well. I think that he's a kid, and I think he's up. I know they're kind of doing some stuff with their lineup, but from 32, like that could have went all the way back. Who did Lucas lose to? He lost to Rowdenbush. And weirdly, he's like a B South kid. Mm-hmm. Like Lucas Clement was a B South kid growing up, ended up at Maryville. Jeez. So I'm sure those guys might know each other.
Yeah. It's another tough weight class. You had Clement Rowdenbush in the blood round. Silas Stitz over Noah Eberhardt from Jimtown, who's pretty solid. Let's see, what is it? It's Hunter Miller from Wawasee, lost to Litchfield. So it's some good matches there in that blood round.
Yeah. Dobie Litchfield wrestled all the way back. That's tough, man. Mm-hmm. I was Watson his sophomore year. Watson's freshman year. Did Jesse wrestle Watson there?
Yeah, Jesse wrestled Watts his freshman year,
and then his sophomore year.
It was Watson.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Luke Gonzalez is good. Carson Johnson, real good tournament. Did he end up defaulting? I didn't know. I didn't see what happened.
They said that he wasn't feeling good.
Good. Keep him away.
Yes.
If you're upset, stay home. If you got upset stomach, stay home.
Yeah. And then, where's Fisher from? What's his first name? Reese Fisher. Columbus East had a good tournament. Nothing on my tongue. Anyway, yeah. So pretty good there. 145, another tough weight class. Hayden Watson over Tatini 3-1. I didn't watch too much of that match.
It was pretty good. There was like a takedown wiped in the second. I mean, close attacking in the end. So I think it went from like 5-0 to 3-1, and then Tatini was attacking. It was just a good match. Tatini's wrestled well. He beat Dylan Graham like 1-0 in the semis, right?
Yeah. And I mean, Tatini, he wrestled a good Gavin Davis in the quarters. Not an easy match. Braden Baker, actually, man, Baker ended up placing. I'm pretty positive. Yeah. So he wrestled 4 placers. I mean, Baker placed, and then Davis placed, Graham placed, obviously Watson. So 4 of his 5 matches were against placers. So that's
good win. Some good wins for the freshman Gavin Davis. Mm-hmm. Beat Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt's real tough. Trying state qualifier.
Yeah. That's just a good break. Good bracket. You had Hooper over Czar Holyfield over Levitz. Let's see who else. You had, Hunter Watts, or not Hunter, Connor Watts. Lost to Graham, ended up losing to Braden Baker in the blood round. Davis Baker was a real good match. Let's see where else we have. Davis over Levitz for 5th. Just a real good, just deep weight class, top to bottom there. So 152, Delaney Ruhlman got beat by
A-Train, man.
Yeah.
Garcia called it. Garcia.
Tony Reinhardt's pretty good. He's a tough freshman.
Garcia was putting 1,200 bananas on her, 12,000 bananas on it.
Yeah. And then a good match there. Just that way, this weight was just loaded top to bottom. Sam doing what he does. He's pretty solid, beating a tough. I mean, I kind of want to see the Roman match. Obviously, didn't happen. You had Chase Leach. He lost to Aiden Costello from Hobart in the quarters.
Some good young kids in here too, right?
Yeah, Costello's only a freshman. Leach is a sophomore. Reinhardt's a sophomore.
Reinhardt's a freshman.
Roman's only a junior, right?
Yeah, Roman's a junior. Reinhardt's a freshman. Sammy's a junior.
Yeah, junior.
Bisping's a sophomore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a deep weight.
Yeah, a deep weight, and these guys are all going to be coming back banging heads again next year in the probably either 52 or 60. Roman will be up to 220 probably.
Yeah, those guys lift weights.
Yeah, and they like to eat. Poor parents. Yeah, the Bloomington Super Value loves their business. Dating myself with the Super Value reference again. I gotta, but yeah, pretty good weight class. Roman ends up getting third, dominating. He beat Leach and then Costello. A lot of just, Keegan maybe. Bricky was a good blood round match. You got Garrett Manley from Belmont over Rooney. Lounsbury Leach. Lounsbury was a ticket rounder last year. And then you had Andrew Ross and Bisping, in the blood round. Just tough weight top to bottom. I mean, those round of 12 matches were pretty tough. Even before that, they were pretty tough. Some pretty tough matches. 160. Cody Goodwin's good. I'm telling you, Cody Goodwin's good at wrestling.
He's on the all hair team too. He got a nice yes. Lock of hair going.
Yes, that was a fun weight class. So did Julian Weems. He's pretty tough too, and he's only a freshman.
Yeah, Julian Weems. I don't know. Maybe you guys didn't do enough scouting. Like, he's pretty good on top.
Yeah, he likes the cradle.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Yeah.
Did he pin his way to the finals or no?
Yep. He pinned his way to the finals. He pinned a pretty tough Chase Wagner, a really tough Caden Lone, and a pretty tough AJ Steinbeck. AJ, Aaron, whatever you want to call him. In our database, he's Aaron. Yeah, and then lost to Goodwin. I did not see the match, but he did come off. Looked like he might have been injured. Hopefully he is not.
Yeah. I hope that
Mr. Maggart wants to remind, yes, no, he was almost a 7 seed. Then Mr. Harper said he's actually pretty good at wrestling, guys. He should be a little bit higher. It's funny how that happens when all of a sudden, because we put the pre-seeds kind of what we had on the board, so people and so no one was arguing when we originally had him at 4, and then no one argued, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, where's this or we're this? I'm like, you want to push him down? I mean, yeah.
But that's like one of those guys too. Like, I'm sure I don't know who did the seeding meeting for Crown Point. They're like, cool, draw us out of the hat.
Yeah. Well, it was Bill and Vince, and I'm looking over them. They're just like, yeah, I do it. I mean, it was almost as let's not see Jesse Mendez. I mean, not Goodwin's. I don't want to say they're in the same stratosphere as far as, but Goodwin's pretty darn good.
Yeah, he just had some trip ups.
Yeah.
He's a guy I know that they're really hoping can kind of stay the course.
Yeah,
I think he missed his freshman year and then missed weight last year. He's a guy that is a difference maker. He's a guy that can be on the podium. Yeah. Should be on the podium, right?
Yeah. He was dominant. I mean, in one of the deeper weight classes.
That weight's
all
ridiculous.
Pinned Duke Myers, who's actually he only beat him 15-2. Sorry, and then pinned Weems. Just one of the deeper weight classes. I know that's one that we spent a lot of time on.
Weems is unseated. Like Paul was right. Like, he didn't get seated, right? No seed for Weems.
Yeah, correct. And he tried to argue for that one, but
that entire.
What do we know? Paul, enough out of you.
That was one of the weights where you could have went 12 deep in that because that's such a good weight. There were some brutal first round matches too.
Yeah, Cameron Powell's a state qualifier. I don't know. He didn't place.
I mean, you're talking Jared Landis. He only had one loss going in there. He gets AJ Steinbeck first round match. I know we talked about
Is it Caleb Carter from Maryville?
Yeah, Caleb Carter, who I'm really high on. I think he's really tough. Gets Powell's second match. loses 2-0. I mean, that whole
Yeah, and
that
yeah, Aiden Reynolds from Bloomington South, who's pretty tough. Gavin Malone from Wawasee, just
we had Eli Pollitt's a guy. I think he only had 4 matches. We know he's pretty tough, and he draws Duke Myers' first match.
yeah,
Like that, we were talking about, man, like, because there's not a lot you can do. Like, you can't say, well, he's 2-2. We know he's really good. We got to give him a seed, especially in a weight that's that deep. You're just like, man, I hope he doesn't pull one of the better guys first. And then he's like, boom, number 1 seed, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
that was tough, and I mean, you even have like that Ethan Friedline from Elkhart. I know we had a 3-1 match with him. He lost to Duke Myers 9-4. I mean, Myers didn't have an easy route at all. I mean, Pollitt, he's no slouch. I mean, I know he's coming off an illness, probably still not even close to 100%. Friedline obviously was a good match. You got an easier match with Garcia from Lake Central, I guess, and then you ran into Goodwin.
a seed, right?
Yeah.
Garcia knocked off a seed to first match.
Yes, he did. He knocked off the 8 seed, Mr. Turk from Hobart.
But you're talking the blood round matches there is Aiden Reynolds of Bloomington South of Landez, Garcia and Malone, Wagner and Powell. Powell returned state qualifier, and then Caleb Carter, who's really tough, who had Russ all the way back, and Caden Lone, who's also really tough. I'd be willing to bet that was probably. I'm not positive, but that might have been Carter's only loss going into that. I mean, we got Paul in here. I think they see him at they're at Tom Cameron, right?
Who is the
Northwoods?
No, they're not.
No.
But Myers Lone match in the Conti semis was pretty good. Back and forth. Lone had a takedown to tie it up, and then I can't remember if he cut Myers or he kind of got out, but that was a real good match. And he looked good. He's right in that mix. 160 is going to be fun in Fort Wayne.
Steinbeck and Myers was a good match in the 3rd and 4th place match.
Yeah.
So. Overtime, little sudden victory. I think that Weems one, like, it's tough because, he's a freshman. I think he had a couple losses, but they were to say, like, oh, man, he has good losses. Like, yeah, like if you got, JJ Conway's one of your losses, and I don't know who his other loss was too, but still, like, he's pretty good. We knew he was good.
Yeah.
Like, that's like one of those common sense ones.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one of those that I think if we move to seeding 12, I mean, he actually wouldn't have been he's with the 6th seed, so that would have been a 7 or 9. He'd have been a 10 seed there. So you basically end up being in the 10 seed spot. That would have been probably justifiable. I mean, that's probably where, I mean, I think we had him like at a 5, which based on criteria, based on, a little bit more, was maybe a little bit high, but, on how deep that weight class was, I would have been fine with him at a 10, where he ended up kind of being slotted anyway.
Yeah.
That way, and I think if we do go to 12, it's going to, they're not going to fight as hard for that seed because they know they're going to slip down to 9, 10, and they're going to be, actually that'd have been 11 seed. But yeah, I mean, even wherever he would have been, it would have been a bad spot.
I'll go on record right now. I bet he'd seed it next year.
Now, he doesn't have any criteria.
Well, he has the Al Smith criteria now.
Well, yeah, I mean, he did come off injured. I don't know how injured he would be. It was obviously we won't probably find out for a little bit, but he might not wrestle. If he doesn't wrestle the rest of the year, he doesn't have any criteria. Was it semi-state qualifier? I mean, I know Paul's going to say that in the seating meeting when he wants his guys seated.
What's crazy, I think, especially with a guy like Weems and Center Grove, is we're gonna have Team State coming up. You're gonna have, and you're like, oh man, like they don't have this, they don't have that. They have guys that are right in the mix there too that they can slide in if he's out for a little bit of time, and they're not gonna. Maybe they're not getting the bonus points with Weems like they're getting the sticks, but they have some guys that are not in that lineup right now that are absolute hammers.
Yes.
I mean, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Cade McConnell is really good. He's always been really good, and he's not in the lineup right now.
Yeah. So, yeah. So 170, Cade Law over Landon Buchanan 3-2. I did not see the match, but another tough weight class. Luke Panola is pretty solid. JJ Braun over Isaac Freet.
Second Osma championship for K Law, right?
Yep, yep. And we had a story on him. Man, you win if you get stories on you. I'm just saying.
So send those requests to Joe.
Yes. So if you have a guy that's like 3-17, we'll do a story on him. I guarantee he wins his next tournament.
Next tournament. Yeah, that's a pretty solid way too. Noah Clouser, he jumped from like 32 to 70, right?
Yeah.
He was a 32 pounder last year.
Yeah.
That's a nice jump.
And
so did Isaac Valdez. Both those guys were 32 pounders last year, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good weight class top to bottom. Let's see who you had Anthony White from Crown Point getting in the lineup, ends up placing there. Pretty good for him, and that's a good showing for him to help kind of team state seeding stuff. Hey, we got a guy that he's not our state level guy, but he's gonna place at a tournament like this, and that's deep. Came in unseeded.
That was one of their things was that he had won a wrestle off this week against Willems, who's pretty good, and it was like, well, you can't really use as a criteria, right? Like he can't say, well, he beat Willems.
Yeah.
But yeah, good win for him. Beat a real tough Freet. Freet's, I mean, obviously you know anything about Belmont wrestling and the history of Belmont wrestling. There's been a lot of Freets and they've all been really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good name. 182. This is just a brutal weight class. The semifinal match, Buchanan VZ was one that we had circled. Obviously, we actually had the Sue's match VZ, but I was in a different gym, so I didn't get to see it. He was down 1-0, then pinned him. I don't know what he used, but then the Buchanan VZ match was really good. Shoot, I can't pull up the scoring, but Buchanan was up a little bit early on. Kind of, it was a couple close encounters early on. Let me see. I'm bringing up the match scoring so I get this right, so I don't look like an idiot. They got Buchanan got 2 takedowns in the first. Took him about a minute to get the first takedown, and he, a couple close calls there. Ended up getting a late takedown, riding him out. Chose bottom in the second period, and somehow VZ got called 2 times for stalling because of his shoelace coming undone.
Yeah, that's what they said. They said he didn't tie him, right?
No, he didn't. He didn't tie him. It had one of the Velcro straps. I don't know.
And that's why Jason's gonna be the next president of the IHSWCA. He said that he gave the coach some tape.
Man, just he'd give you the shirt off his back if he could.
And he said, give a vote for Cook.
Yes. Need to give him his business card. But yeah, so that was really weird. VZ's real good on top. And that's something I know we were texting back and forth. And I'm like, you don't expect – I mean, I knew VZ was good on his feet. I've watched some of his matches, not a whole lot. Watched a lot of his stuff at Fargo. I'm like, seeing how good he really is. Obviously, you do well at Fargo, you're good on your feet. You're real good on your feet. And – I talked to Maggart from Gymtown before the seating meeting. And I go, what did he do to Buchanan to ride him out? I mean, that was, if you had told me, he's going to be a good wrestler like Buchanan, Landon Buchanan, and, with a 1-0 ride out, I'd have been like, no, that would have been the last way out of the, a couple takedowns, maybe launched him for 5.
Yeah, you would have probably thought it the other way, right?
Yeah.
Just as explosive as he is and how good he is in the neutral position, you would say, more take him down, cut him. You wouldn't have thought of 1-0, VZ's.
Right. But I talked to Maggart's like, yeah, he rode us tough. And he's like, Landon hasn't been rode for like 3 years. Landon's a state placer, semi-state champ. He doesn't get rode out, and that's one of those things like that. That's what surprised me. So obviously I'm keeping my Drake Buchanan, Center Grove Buchanan chose down, and VZ tilted him. He got a nice little wrist ride, tilted him, and I'm like, whoa, when was the last time Drake Buchanan's been turned off? Maybe not off, something that's not like a throw or, something like that he kind of got caught off guard. I mean, that was a 100%, he turned him, and that's damn impressive, to say the least. Unfortunately, in the third period, VZ got a quick escape, and then Buchanan kind of pancaked him, and it looked like his ankle got caught in the mat. Hopefully it's not serious. That's the someone said they saw him walking out of the tournament limping out of the school, so hopefully he's he's going to be okay. That's a scary thing, because I was like, man, that was not a good fun way, because he got put to his back and he really didn't fight, which was a kid like that's not going to lay down, and you see the ankle.
That was kind of the Weems thing too with Goodwin. It was that's why you worry about like that injury, is like that's a real tough kid to like kind of not give up, but say, all right, I'm pinned, I'm gonna walk right off the mat.
Yeah.
Yeah, VZ with a really good win over Jake Sues. I think that was like kind of the buzz. Like, how does this kid get the 5 seed? And obviously we do the rankings. I do the rankings, and he's ranked higher than that. But there is criteria there. Drake's a returning runner-up. Cruz is a medalist. Simpson beat Sues their last head-to-head, and that was with a 4, and Sue's a medalist. So, but I think VZ fell in a good spot. It didn't sound like there was a lot of, I don't know, was there any argument for him not to be the 5 there?
No. I mean, their coach was, obviously kind of probably wanted to be on the bottom side. That's probably where I would have, I guess, I mean, I'd like to see him, Simpson would have been an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I was
Cruz
hoping
would have been a good matchup. I would have tried to probably get away from Buchanan, but it was one of those things that, he needed to be as high as possible. Obviously, 4 guys with state level experience, it's going to be hard to put him over them unless he has a win over them recently.
Right.
And obviously we knew, I mean, what's he ranked, 3rd or 4th?
I think he's 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. So that's not obviously he would have been in there, but it's one of those things that he got put in a good spot where you're in as a freshman, you want to put him in a good spot. He's got to perform, but he's not going to be, he's not running into Buchanan in the 2nd round. That's the biggest thing. Or Cruz in the 2nd round, or even Simpson or any of those, Sues, any of those guys 2nd round. You gotta, at some point, it's kind of like IPO seeding. I separate them as good as I can, based on their state criteria, let them sort it out, and that's what kind of happened there. So, but yeah, go ahead.
I like to have seen him wrestle, Simpson. I was hoping that he could come back. I mean, Jake's pretty good. I think Jake got his 100th win, so that's pretty impressive in that schedule with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But you hope that he's okay and that he can get back. Simpson and Sues continued their rivalry also.
Yes.
I mean,
does Lake Central and Hobart have to wrestle like all the time?
I think so. I think Luke and Jason are going to start trading meal recipes and dinners. You guys buy this week, we'll buy next week.
They're going to start lifting together.
More times, right? They'll see each other at the county. That's another one. So maybe just the county. I don't know. But
yeah.
They have a couple.
Good weight class top to bottom. Simpson over Statler from Columbus East, who had a good tournament. Came in unseeded, but he was one of those guys that was, on that bubble that kind of knew based on their schedule and stuff, probably should have been in one of those spots. So
they're going to team. Yeah, Luke does eat more protein than all of us. I don't think he's carb in 10 years.
All of us combined.
We feel guilty when we see Luke.
Yeah.
2 years, it's offset resolutions. No more carbs.
Yes. The bad thing is I feel bad for Luke's shirts, the sleeves on his shirts. Those are who you feel sorry for.
But like, I'm not trying to dog my, like, there's only certain sizes you can get, like he's not a tall guy. He has, but he's like an extra fit guy.
Yes. So, 195, this was one of the, weight class that wasn't as top heavy. You had Gage DeMarco over Will Clark, got a little revenge, 6-1 in the finals. Jade Durnell DeMarco, 3-1 match. Clark over Chavez, Christian Chavez, another one that wasn't he 45-ish or something last year?
I was 60 last year. He made a nice little jump too, right?
That's Fabio's son, isn't it?
his dad's not that big, right?
Yeah, Fabio's not that big. No. So
We'll have to get Nick's Fabio expert.
Yes. Fabio Jr. Yeah, maybe. So yeah, but solid weight class. Durnell ends up getting third over Chavez. Kugelhan from Belmont was fifth. Vincent McDonald's a pretty big, jacked dude.
Mine is Vincent McDonald is fifth and Kugelhan is sixth.
Yeah. McDonald's fifth, Kugelhan sixth.
What's this kid from Concord's name? I want to hear you say that one. Armen.
Colt Kukian. I guess he's pretty big and athletic. I know we wrestled him in the second round, and I was like, you see a Concord kid, you're like, I'm like, what? Asked what happened. He said he was pretty big. So our kid actually ended up beating the Westfield kid first round, and then not placing the Westfield kids ends up eighth. So I was like, geez, should have lost that first round,
I like when kids that have names that are tough to pronounce just give you like a nickname.
Yes.
That makes me more happy.
Yes, very much. Yeah, I mean, this is like the all name bracket. You got Kugelhan, you got Kuka the tie-in, DeMarco, Clark. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, 220, Juan Grange. He got a little bit bigger this year. He's pretty thick at 220 over Tommy Morrill from Columbus East as Morrill's first loss. Breakout Keegan Martin of Belmont.
Oh yeah,
coming in. He had Drake Kendricks, tough freshman from Mount Vernon, had him first round. The Mount Vernon coach was not happy about that draw. I mean, Martin was undefeated, but he didn't have like any criteria coming in. So it's kind of hard to, over some guys that had been to semi-state, had a little bit of criteria. Ends up taking fourth. Lost to Isaac Benjamin from Northwood. RD3 made the semis. Had a solid match with Grange, and then ended up getting third. Fifth, sixth.
Yeah, Michael Delgado wrestled really well from Lake Central. I know he had lost to Paul Clark early. I think he beat Paul Clark there, and then also beat Royce Deckert there.
Mm-hmm.
Trey
Deckert, RD3. I like RD3 better, but yeah, he was up at heavyweight. Look, he was slimmed down. Yeah, pretty good. Just interesting weight. Just a lot of guys that didn't have. I mean, there's some criteria in there, and actually was less arguing after you get through about 10 weight classes of like, no, people kind of arguing. They're like, I think those seeds are pretty solid, so we're not going to argue too much here. So, but some pretty good, real good matches there. 285, Big Mike Platinov. Nate Johnson, who has a luscious blonde mullet, was a pretty solid match. Johnson's not afraid to throw you. He's not afraid to try things.
Johnson was trying to get that most falls in least amount of time. He went 16, 40, 30, and then lost Platinov 5-3. Yeah. I mean, no shame in that. Big Mike's returning medalist, but he was not getting paid by the hour there.
No, he was not. Double parked. So yeah, pretty solid. I mean, Johnson's one that's gonna be trouble. He's only a sophomore. I didn't realize he was that young.
And he wasn't their heavyweight last year, right? No. Owen Green was their heavyweight last year.
Yeah, he was at 220. He pinned Jack Reese from Crown Point, who's no slouch, been in the lineup for a couple years, in 30 seconds. So that tells you something. Jellison from Elkhart had a solid tournament, beating Teddy Sparks, and then lost a close one to Hartwell. Hartwell Platinov was a 4-2 tiebreaker.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good. Heavyweight was good there. Heavyweight's just one of those weights where, I thought it was open there, and Platinov and Hartwell was a good championship match. Couple double stall calls. You always like to see a double stall call, right?
Yep.
Who doesn't like a double stall call? When guys are just pummeling in. Like, those guys are big. Big Mike, they don't call him medium Mike.
Yeah.
Like, he ain't shooting at that guy.
He ain't medium Mike either.
No. And so you see a double stall call there. I mean, those guys were working.
Yeah.
But a lot of really good matches. Teddy Sparks, Poppy, and in the blood round there. Poppy from Plymouth got the win over Sparks. It was good to see Peyton Kendall better. I know he had some. I think he had a pretty bad run with COVID, so I think they said he's just starting now to get back up to lung capacity, and he obviously wrestled much better than he did to start the year off.
Yeah, because a couple of weeks ago he didn't have a good tournament at the Jim Nicholson.
Yeah, he didn't have a good
And
harvest
yeah,
there.
and he ended up. I mean, there was a returning state qualifier literally had a little bit of a fight for a 7 seed there.
Yeah, and I think, and obviously I like it, dude. Jeremy's a great dude. I've talked to him. He has a boy that plays baseball. He runs like a facility we play some softball at in the summer, and like just kind of like I asked him like, hey man, what's going on? Like, because Peyton's good and he's been good. He's been good for years, and he's like, man, just COVID kind of kicked his butt, and it just hits people different, and he's just he wasn't feeling it, and now he's starting to feel better, and they're hoping that they can even get at a higher level going to the state tournament, which you hate to see that, but like you'd rather take those losses early on than take them later.
I advocate for more double stalls. Yeah, heavyweight is pretty deep. You had Teddy Sparks, Anthony Poppy, the blood round, Kendall over I think it's Bailey Robinson from Prairie Heights. You got Jose Smith over Riley Anderson from Mount Vernon, Dalton Robinson from Belmont, and Jack Reese. Pretty tough too. Some really good matches. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys all shake out. Obviously, rankings wise, there's some guys that've been in those areas. So that's it. Paul, call me. We'll put you on live, and you can tell us how much you enjoy double stall calls.
I don't know. I never got hit for a double stall, but if you have, just go ahead and call in and let us know, or just type in. Does that motivate you to press the action?
Double stall is called weight discrimination.
Oh no, they hit a double stall on dude. Who was it on? They hit a double stall early on somebody in like a lower weight too. I was like shocked.
Yeah.
Was it Gendris and no, it wasn't Gendris. Was it Reese Courtney and Hayden DeMarco? They might have hit Reese Courtney and Hayden DeMarco the double stall. And I'm thinking like, no shot, right? Like there's no shot.
You want to get on a soapbox of the double. No one has increased their action in a double stall. You're going to increase action if you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick one of these guys. It's like the old freestyle. We got to put someone on the clock for the shot clock. They just randomly, hey, Blue's going on the shot clock, whatever. That almost seems better because that's going to increase action a little bit. So,
yeah.
I think a double stall is kind of, and I'll say it's a weak way out of
refereeing, and
it's not going to do anything.
It didn't end up changing the result in that big Mike, and Hartwell moves well for a big guy, right?
Mm-hmm. He's Triple B trained.
Yeah. I think he got hit for a stall in overtime in a 30-second. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. To me, like, I don't know if you're stalling there. And if you are, like, cool, that might be the only time I'm like, all right, bro. Like, I get it. You're hanging on. You're just hanging on there. Yeah. He ended up not getting away, so it ended up being 4-2 anyways. But if that ended up being the difference on that 3-2, and I'm not a referee basher. I'm not an official. I just slept at a Holiday Inn, right?
Yes. Oh, jeez.
No, but I just that's like that was too good of a match, and like those guys are high level guys. Like they're not backing up. They're big dudes that have got to fight for position. I really do think it was it might have been 120. I'm not sure. It was a double stall early on in the tournament, and it was either it might have been DeMarco or what? Eric didn't give a single stall call. I don't believe that at all. There must not have been any bottom wrestling going on.
What was it, a freestyle tournament?
He said at the Batman Open, 0 stall calls. I don't believe that. Eric's a bottom man stalling guy all day long. We were just talking about it off the air. Yes. I'm gonna text him when we get off.
Eric would ding his own mother for stalling on bottom.
Yeah.
He would ding his wife. He'd ding his son. Son's like, you're not getting up. He's like, I was up on my feet within 2 seconds.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm almost positive it was Kenny Monday. Like Kenny Monday was going in on Eric on Twitter. Yeah, I have to find it. Like, dude, he's like, when a legend's calling you out for a bottom man stall.
Hey, yeah, I've called him out for him too. so 2 legends, right?
Yeah. Oh man, but dude, it's interesting because he's doing some high level. Eric's doing some high level college, and he, like he was a fan. Like he's a huge fan, and he's like, man, I had Barry Davis on me. These guys are in my ear. Tom Brand's in my ear.
Yeah, he did the Ohio State Virginia Tech match, and I know there was a heated moment of a stall call on the edge where a guy stood up and kind of ran out of bounds, and I think he dinged the Ohio State guy, and the Ohio State coaches were saying some they were not saying nice things. They were not, saying, "Hey, I can't wait to give you a Christmas card."
Yeah,
Eric, what's your address?
I'll be up in the region recruiting. You guys want to go get a beer? No.
Yeah. Hey, you guys want to go to Chipotle afterward, or you guys looking more something like a McAllister's? But yeah, he and I saw something. I was listening to one of the other shows, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this stall call." So I went and looked at it, and I was like, Eric was on that. So I wanted to go look, and yeah, you could see Ryan's going, it's pretty funny, but especially when those people, and he's like, man, I'd love to have him on here just to talk some stories about the coaches and stuff. I mean, they write them. I've been on the floor at NCAAs, dude. those coaches, as soon as that whistle blows, they're on him. That's stalling. He's not. He's grabbing the fingers. He's doing this. It's like, geez. I mean, you almost have to have earplugs.
They and he does a good job, man. He's awesome. Yeah. But the double stall thing, man, that sucks. Like I said, like that one, I'm not positive. I think it was DeMarco and Courtney. And it's like, dude, like, what's your, like, that just, and they're like, well, it's just a warning. But at some point, there might be a position where, like, people like, oh, he didn't return them quick enough or whatever. And you get a stall there. I think it's tough, man. I didn't like that double stall there, stall in overtime, but also I'm doing it from my house on the couch and just watching.
Yeah. So yeah, but really good tournament overall. I mean, just a tough tournament. It doesn't look like it was that 120 match.
I don't know. I'm not sure where the warning was at.
Yeah. So, but
I thought it was pretty early on too. Where was it at? They but Steve's done a great job of adding tough teams there, and man, it was just there was a couple of years where teams were bringing half teams, and I think he's kind of like gutted that out a little bit, and brought in some really solid programs and some programs that are going to be solid. And Cathedral's always good. Crown Point's going to be good for the next couple of years. Maryville's always good. Belmont's always been good. Belmont's been good for the last 20 years. And even when they're down, they're good. They had a nice showing. Well, they ended up 6th. I know Penn closed out pretty good and ended up in 4th. So, yeah, I mean, you have a bunch of Team State guys there. Crown Point's at Team State, Center Grove, Cathedral, Penn, Columbus East, Belmont, Mishawaka, Bloomington South is not. Hobart is.
Prairie Heights, Wawasee.
Prairie Heights, Wawasee, Garrett.
Peru, are they? I think Peru might be.
I got the email. I can look at it.
Yeah, Peru, I think might be, but yeah. I remember first year I went there with Garrett. I think we had like 5 or 6 places. We had a real good tournament. We wrestled real well. And looking at this tournament, I'd be like, we'd be lucky to have 2 or 3. We'd have just as tough as this was, and it was tough back 10 years ago when I first went. But it's you're adding teams like Zionsville, Westfield, Carroll. Jimtown's been there. Wawasee was out of it for a while. I think Northwood was in and out a little bit of it. Mount Vernon's tough, solid, tough, top to bottom.
Yeah, I think like Maryville's and I know like Paul's my guy, man. I like Paul, I like Dave. Those dudes are awesome. Some of the best dudes out there. But like Maryville's a really solid team. Like top to bottom, they're probably one of the better, like just like there's not a lot of holes in that lineup. Like they went out and beat Chesterton pretty good. They beat Portage, and they had one guy place.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. Um,
Yeah. Wow.
now,
I
now
didn't even realize they only had. Yeah. That's tough. And I mean, you put them in a duel against those teams up above them. I mean, they win. That where they're finishing 18th. It's hard to say past the top three that they wouldn't be in a 1 or 2 match duel with any of those other teams.
and Portage won Connorsville. That just kind of tells you how deep that is, right?
Yeah.
Like Portage just went out and won Connorsville, and Maryville had beat them in a head-to-head duel, and they're 18th there.
Yeah.
Jimtown 13th. I see those guys in there. I know they were in the vote-in. It was tough. The vote-in for that division was really hard. Those guys are good.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. It's always interesting, who's going to be in, who's going to get the boot or who's going to get in this year. I know he originally had Edwardsburg. I always want to call it Edwardsville. From Michigan was in the tournament, but I think someone's contract was supposed to be ended, but they weren't. There's something that went on weird that they ended up having to tell them they're not in. But so I mean, and he's looking for some out of state teams, which would be even more. I mean, hey, you'd have to change the format just a little bit if you go a little bit bigger. You'd have to go to not quite the blood round, but like you go to the semis and then the round before the blood round on the consolations. If you add another, add another 8 teams or whatever. I mean, that I wouldn't be opposed to adding some more teams. It's not going to hurt anybody. So I'll send that to him. But I mean, that's one of those things. It's tough. I mean, even
would that be like? You think that's what I was gonna say? Like obviously we have no influence on that. We just make suggestions and take credit. But do you like Michigan? Obviously is right there, and there's some good Michigan teams right on the border. I know they bring some Michigan teams into that. Henry Wilk. I think that's a good. I mean, Michigan has some good teams. Like obviously, those guys have been going up. Would that be something you guys want to bring in? Like they would want to bring in Michigan squads, or
as long as
I mean, I don't
solid,
know.
I mean, I know that Edwardsburg is pretty tough. I know there's a couple other good teams that they wrestle at. Like I want to say at Penn, the Henry Wilk. They're solid top to bottom. They have some. They're gonna. Obviously, bringing in full lineups is big, and bringing in some state level kids that that we don't get to see. I mean, I like seeing different styles. I like, and it's not gonna, it's one of those things I do like seeing all Indiana teams, especially from all, I'd like to see a little bit more from the Evansville area, Evansville semi-state. Because I was talking to Steve Kroll a little bit. He's like Jasper used to come, Princeton used to come, and obviously that's not a short drive by any means. No. Last year Princeton backed out because we had a really bad snowstorm. But yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more from the South, but just because we don't see that, that level, but and even a little bit more maybe from the Indy area. I think we got obviously Northern Indiana is pretty well represented, especially Fort Wayne area. You got probably 4 or 5 of the better teams there: Belmont, Garrett, us, Snyder, Northwoods. There, some really good teams. Prairie Heights. Really good represented from Fort Wayne area, obviously region area, South Bend, well represented. Just a little bit, and I can't even think of teams offhand who I want to see, but maybe like a Floyd Central or
now that, and especially now that Floyd Central, well, they're at Mater Dei, right?
Yeah.
Now that they're at the Trikoff, I think if that's going to be their long trip, I'd like to see like a team that's like a perennial team that's always going to be tough. Like, I think that's like the thing is like that the teams are in it, like they're going to have solid programs year to year,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even when they're down, they're still going to bring in good kids and get kids that are going to be, I mean, I know we're down this year. We got a placer, but we also had 3 others in the blood round and 4 others that were in that round before that, top 16. So even, in any year that you're not bringing in top level guys, you're still having you know, 7 or 8 really solid kids that are going to be competitive, which is what you want. I mean, that's what you want. From even Prairie Heights is going to always have a good solid teams, even though they're small and they'd rather be baling hay.
I know, I know some of those guys probably, they probably don't see, the same teams they always see. Like, I don't know how often Center Grove sees, Avon. Would Avon be like a team maybe in that Indy area? I
Yeah,
know they were going
yeah,
to
Avon would be a good one. I mean, I know Johns is going to do a great job there. He's already doing a pretty solid job. That'd be a good one to snag in. Yeah,
I
there's
don't
just
think Derek's not coming back. I don't think Brownsburg's going to be there.
yeah they like they're Brownsburg likes to go to the more of the. I mean, they're in Brecksville. Brecksville got canceled, and they ended up going to
Illinois.
Illinois on some bunch of duels. I think they
Seen Isaiah Street in the lineup, huh? Little sneaky guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to tell Derek, thanks for the heads up. I mean, you have teams like Roncalli would be good. Perry was in it for a couple years. Not sure exactly. I mean, Perry changed their schedule a lot. I don't know what they're obviously, Warren Central has been in it. Maybe they.
I know Zionsville's going to be good. Like they've been doing a good job. Those guys are young. That I just don't know like how those guys all fit. Like how many times does Zionsville see like a Carmel? I know Carmel's been at Mooresville.
Yeah, I was looking through some of the team rankings and stuff. Some of those teams. East Central would be fun to see because they don't. Yeah. They don't venture into Indy. A lot of those areas. A lot. I mean, I think they're going to probably be pretty solid for a while. That'd be kind of neat to see some, or even like one of the Terre Haute teams, Terre Haute South, Terre Haute North usually have pretty solid teams.
Yeah, East Central would be a good one. I think we might be able to make that one happen. We can talk to Mark. Mark's a good dude.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of teams there that I like seeing those different styles. I know like I believe with South Russell's a little bit a different style than we're used to. It's good to see that whether we wrestle it or if we're we just witness it. And when you see those kids at the first round of state, and that's what something we were talking about earlier or the other day is like I want to see those good matches. I want to if I'm one of those teams, I'm a Center Grove or I'm a Crown Point or something, I don't mind seeing those. I kind of want to see those teams, those matches because I want to. Who knows? I mean, you're likely to see those guys at at state first round. One year we had 4 or 5 at state. We had all rematches from matches we'd wrestled throughout the year.
Yeah,
which is pretty good.
We were kind of talking about it a little bit. It's what are you looking to do? Like, are you looking to have? And everyone wants to be undefeated, and if you're undefeated, great. Like, I think like you earned it, but also, do you want that experience? You want to be in those tough matches where you're going to, find the way, find a way to win, find a way to like figure it out, get some. I always say like Penn as a good example. Like Penn always finds a way to like close the distance in matches. Mm-hmm. Like I know like some people give those guys a hard time. But whoever does their video and their like game planning, like they'll close the distance. I always look back to like that Mamalenti and like Kenny Hughes, and like they wrestled like 3 times and it was like a fall. Then it was a major, and then Mamalenti was winning. And I was like, dude, how did you close the gap like that? Yeah. I mean, you guys talked about it a little bit with some of your matches. Just closing the gap and making adjustments. Like, do you want to be undefeated the whole year and just kind of go into semi-state? And we talk about it in the region. Like we see like these guys coming with undefeated records, and you see like, a Maryville kid with, 5 or 6 losses or 7 losses. Yeah. And you're like, that Maryville kid's battle tested, man. They wrestle a lot of tough kids, or, what Jason's doing with Hobart or Lake Central. Lake Central is one of those teams that always has a kid with 8 losses the last couple of years. Jake Sue's a kid I bet he had 8+ losses last year, got a medal. Nam Doan before that, just guys that make runs.
Yeah, and that pays off in the end, knowing that you've wrestled a good schedule, knowing that you've been battle tested. I mean, sure, take some losses, get some. I mean, Austin Bricky, who plays for us, second day he wrestled 3 rematches of matches. He'd wrestled, he wrestled earlier in the tournament. He wrestled the little kid, lost to him, ends up coming back and beating him. Lost to Costello earlier in the season, and made the adjustments. Had a real close match. Wrestled Leach in the 5th place match. We just wrestled him last week. I mean, made it. It was a one takedown match, considering it was a 10-4 match before that. It's one of those things that that's something we can work with. Said, hey, you're getting better. I mean, we're closing the gap. You made the adjustments in these matches. One was a quick, less than 24-hour turnaround to make those adjustments. The other's been a week, but been able to make those adjustments and get better. That's great going forward for these kids. Being able to show on paper, you've made those adjustments and you're getting better, even within a week, or even within 24 hours.
Yeah, and I think the state's becoming good enough where you're going to find good kids. Like, now am I saying, like, if you're undefeated and, to bump up and try your hand at Mendez, like, probably not. Like, that's probably not what I'm saying. But if you're 38 and you're undefeated, and why not bump to see, it's a team. I don't know. I'm just using that lineup for whoever. I think we said it with Laporte and Belmont wrestled. I was surprised that Laporte didn't bump Jackson to get him a better match. Mm-hmm. Like, Jackson knows he's a state championship guy, but like, you want to like look for good matches. I don't know how many good opportunities you're going to get the entire year like that. A guy at Ike's level. I don't know. I don't know Laporte's schedule. I know there's a site I can go to and find people's schedules, but Justin Thornton is real tough, man. That's a kid that he'll be in the rankings. Dude, he's tough. For a freshman too, Columbus North, kind of flying under the radar. He's got some really good wins.
Yeah. He had some good wins last week, didn't he?
The last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Jake Sues he had 7 losses last year, so I was off. Oh, he's your like, classic, like, hey, I got a lot of losses and won a state like Central guy, and I'm just gonna figure it out. Yeah. You're Steve Bahar. I'm just gonna run into the state semifinals.
Yeah.
Your Keon Jones, like. And that happens a lot. I think that like that's an overlooked thing.
Yeah, but you want your kids to be battle tested, and that's why you get into tournaments like the Al Smith, Mooresville, Connorsville, those tournaments. And you want to get tested. You want to see, it's a tough tournament, but even your medium level guys are getting good matches. Lower tier guys are getting at least one match that they're competitive in, maybe 2. Depending on the weight class, but you're getting all your levels of guys are getting matches. Obviously I'd love to have 10 guys, all 10, getting 10 matches, but at the same time I want good matches. If my good guys aren't getting good matches, we're not getting better. My other kids aren't getting good matches, they're not. Whether they're over, it's just one of those things that you gotta play that game, but it's good for a good, as Paul said, mid-season test.
Yeah.
Jose, I don't know. That's a that rule about practicing with other high school wrestlers during the season. I would say that one. I think they're pretty old school on that rule. I doubt it's gonna change because wrestling's about the only sport that might affect. I don't know. I know you can if you only have one on your team. I know you can, like, if you really don't have a high school team, you can go practice somewhere else. But it's a weird rule. So, anyway, any other pieces of information, Mike? We're gonna get ready for New Year's. Got 5 hours, less than 5 hours, 6 hours. For you.
6 hours for us. But so if the world ended tonight, would it end on your time or our time?
I don't know. Depends on where it ends first.
When was that? When was that the world supposed to end? Was that 2002 or 2011? 2012?
Yeah,
2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar. I just always was wondering, like, is it on their time? Is it on our time? Is it on London's time? Am I going to be asleep? No. It'll be with the team state thing coming up. It's going to be interesting to see how some of the teams fall. Like, getting Isaiah Street back is huge. If that guy's ready to go, like, that's going to be huge. And no, because he's a 220, he's a big guy. But that's going to be bonus points that they can pick up.
Yes. Y2K was, if you guys don't realize, my screen name is off the Y2K moniker. That was in college. I know I've said this before. It has been a while. Has it come off? My nickname in college may have been Crazy Joe or CJ. So I was one day in the locker room there talking about Y2K and how the world's coming to an end. I said, you guys shouldn't be worried about that. You should be worried about Y2CJ. And that's how I came up with my name. 41 was actually a weight class in college. that I may or may not have made 20 years ago. But yes. So yes, Y2K was me. But yes, it was a bug in the code that they thought planes were going to fall out of the sky, but nothing happened. Anyway.
Isn't that crazy? Like someone was saying this, the movie Dazed and Confused came out in like 1994, and it was set in like 1979, and like that's basically like a longer time from now than it was from then.
Yes.
And like, remember when you were like a kid, like how much like older you thought that was?
Yeah. I wrestled at the University of Findlay in Ohio, Mr. Hinson. So yes, way back in the day, 20 years ago. But yeah, that's how my original name was Y2CJ. Then I forgot my password for that one, so I added the 41. So if you go to the old Easy board, there's a Y2CJ name that popped up, and I was pretty anonymous for quite a while, even until my coaching days. And then some people snuffed me out. Actually, one person kind of knew who I was and kind of figured it out, which I was not happy about. So, and I'm still anonymous to some people.
Yeah. So, but it'll be interesting to see like how that's going with the teams and how that shakes out. Just I know Dane looks at the depth of the lineups and stuff, and just how people match up. I've kind of gone over the 4A a couple of times, and I have it split like 7-7 in a bunch of those matches. So I don't know the seeds. We don't know the seeds. I'm not even sure if Dane knows the seeds yet. But that'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out and how those bonus points go, and a dual strategy is different than an individual thing because you have a lot more moving parts. And if you can make, I don't know, are they allowing fans and stuff in there that day?
I assume they are, but yeah, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I got the sheet that says, spectators are, I think it's $15 for all day at each location. So yeah, the seating show is going to be at 7 p.m. I believe. I'm not 100%. Normal time for the Hager Suffer
Hager, what is it? Hager, Hershey,
Sulfur, Free, and Baker funeral home. Yeah. If it's Decatur, it has to have a Free and a Baker. But it's going to be there. We're going to simulcast it on both our Facebook and stuff with fun graphics. So I believe that's at 7. I haven't heard the whole, if it's 7 to 8:30, 7 to 8, that kind of stuff. I know, the season finale of Yellowstone is also going on, so that's going to be very important to keep track of. I know you don't watch it, so you got to see what happened with Rip and Beth and the whole Dutton family. So
I'm only watching Moonshiners and Homestead Rescue until the challenge comes back. So
nice.
I'm learning how to homestead off the grid and how to make moonshine.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Yep. Some skills if the Y2K bug does hit, I got us, man.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be, I'm sure they'll do a good job. But if you can make it there, I think it's always cool. I know that they do it on track now, so it's a little bit easier to watch. Yeah. But man, there's always like great matches there, and there's always a bunch of stuff that's going to be these rankings that are going to come out. I'm hoping to get them out before the tournament, before the team state. They'll get crinkled up and thrown out too because there'll be so many good matches and so many upsets, and it's just a different vibe for the team. The duels, I don't know. Were you guys in the duel format when you were at Garrett, when you guys were there? I'm not sure.
We were. I left Garrett right as I was starting up.
So when Calumet was there, we wrestled team regional, team semi-state. Those were awesome events. Mm-hmm. I thought those. No, I'm talking about when you were wrestling, Joe. Not.
When I was wrestling, yeah, they did have the dual event. They'd started it like my sophomore, junior yearish.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was always a cool event. The team regional was always really good, and the semi-state was always really good. I was really disappointed when the IHSA kind of took that away. I always say I'm thankful for the IHSWCA to put that back together because, and then now they do it with the classes. If are they doing it in different locations again?
The team state?
No.
Yes.
The 1A, man, when they would have it in the Coliseum, the 1A would have like the biggest section of cheering. It was pretty crazy. And it just means a lot to those programs. I think that's awesome. And I'm sure if you watch some of the viewing parties, like Cascade, when they got in, they went crazy. Delta when they got in, they went crazy. There's only 2 I saw, but
Mhm.
I think it's pretty cool that that's able to do that, and they were able to include so many teams.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the venue's like. Obviously, we know what Franklin and Brownsburg are. Uh, Martinsville has a nice facility, and I know I talked to a couple coaches. They were asking, kind of what happened, why it wasn't at the Coliseum. I not 100%
Tractor Show.
on what happened, but hopefully they can get, kind of get the venues. I like it all in one place. I think it's great for wrestling.
Yeah.
Period. Easier to manage a tournament when it's in one location. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was really cool. I haven't been to any of the other ones. The Coliseum was awesome. It was awesome to see all those like Amish people buying tractors in the other barn. So,
Yes. So,
but yeah, it'll be exciting, man. If you guys got teams there, good luck. Happy New Year to everybody. If your 2021 sucked, hope your 2022 is better. Your 2021 was awesome. I hope it's even better next year, man.
Yep, I do too. We'll be back Monday. We'll talk Team State. We'll have a whole Team State preview, so we don't have to worry about talking about Al Smith and Team State. So, have a good New Year. Have a safe New Year. Make good choices.
Yeah, be safe.
As I told my kids, make good choices.
Make good choices.
Yep, we'll see you guys Monday.